Hello, everybody. Woo! It's been a long time. It feels like it's been so long. And I can see Cisco here. Let's see. Okay, we've got settled. Okay, as you can see, I'll get to what's been going on. Let me say hi in the chat. Please hit the thumbs up. Hit the heart next to the chat. Hello, Jay. Looking forward to it. Yes. Cisco, hello. My internet has been offline most of the day. Right now, it's intermittent. Oh, darn. I got a theory. Cisco has a theory. Terrell Farnsworth. After the shooting, he immediately ran up the slope behind the tunnel thing and started filming. People criticize him for only taking a selfie video of himself. Charlie is shot. Oh my gosh. I think he was taking video of Charlie being carried. Yeah, that's very possible. There's apps you can get for the iPhone that let you record from both rear and front cameras at the same time. Yeah, I want one of those cameras. Anyways, it's probably not what happened, but it's something I thought of. He does take forward video for a few seconds. Coco, I love that intro song too. Hello. One day we'll start it and somehow maybe end it and we'll dance. We'll have a dance party. Okay. I've had an eventful several days since last week. Got the taxes done. Came out okay. All right, Coco, thank you. Came out okay. Actually, we already have the refund in our bank, but I had to sit and input every single purchase that I made for my studio. The date, what I purchased, every single thing, line item by line item. It was kicking my butt trying to figure out where I bought everything. So, but hi Maggie. So the refund, the federal was already there within, we just got it yesterday. So that was incredibly fast. If Trump did that, thanks Trump for something you did that I like. Although maybe it's due to the government shutdown. They just don't have the people. But anyway, so got that out of the way. Friday, I start getting this is my left eye, started swelling up from my eyelash extensions. It started puffing up. I was terrified. It swelled. I wonder if I could show you a picture. It was so big. It was swollen under here. It's still a little bit swollen, still swollen here, all red. The vision started going wonky. And anyway, so yesterday I gave in and went to the urgent care and got an antibiotic and a steroid. I'm like, give me a steroid to help this swelling. Like, I don't want to go looking completely crazy with my eyes. It was bad. Let me see if I could share a picture with you guys. It was, I'll share, let's see. Oh my gosh. So I went and got them taken off in an emergency Saturday morning. And then, let's see, how can I airdrop these? I'll just do that. Oh, nice. Anyway, and so I got to stop saying anyway. I got it. That's a habit I really kind of want to break. But so that's what happened. Let me show you guys a picture. You guys can see this funky eye. Okay, so here's where, look at that eye. Oh, it was so bad. That's not even the worst of it. And then let's see. Let me see, remove from studio. Let me see if I can give you another view. So then I took them off. I had to find somebody in an emergency last minute appointment on Saturday. So they took them all off. So there you go. That was I was scared. I'm like, gonna lose my eye. I'm gonna go blind. Incredibly stressed. Then Sunday, we tried a new church. And I like the church just fine. It's different than what I'm normally used to, but it was great. But this Sunday was a little bit chaotic, and it's just kind of been chaos ever since. That's been my days since I last saw you guys. How have you been? Have you been paying attention to the podcaster wars going on? They're saying all kinds of crazy things. I think it was Blake Bednarz was on his X, and he was questioning why Candace and Barron haven't dug into the security team, and they're only digging into Erica. So they're thinking, and they're claiming and saying that she's part of like a psyop. It looks like, you know what? I'm going to edit something because it looks like there's ads playing during this live, and I don't want that happening. Can I change it now? No. Yes. Save changes. Okay. Well, okay. I don't know if that can work, you guys. I don't know. That's a bummer. I don't like that at all. I think, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to conservative. I thought I could change this, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened. I don't like that. Save changes. I can't. Let's see. I hope that did it. Did it? Hold on. None. Save changes. Yeah, it's not going to let me. Darn. So if that messed things up for you, I'm sorry. I think I didn't deselect the ad thing that I normally deselect. So, and the light here seems a little weird with my face. Just click out of the ad easily. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jeff. Anyway, okay. So people are saying she's a part of a psyop and Joe Kent is a part of a psyop. As you know, they were saying that after my interview with Mitch Snow and all of that. So I tried to not let that get to me too much. And so I have to admit, though, it did. Like, I try to think it's not going to get to me. Like, they're going to say what they're going to say. They're going to think what they're going to think. And I can't do it. That's just really their problem. But actually, it kind of does get to you. But anyways, I unplugged, fixed it. It, fixed my mind, let me get on like the main thing, let the main thing be the main thing, and all of that. So let's see. Let me see what you guys are saying. Okay. Anyways, I apologize for those ads. Hopefully it's not going to be too much of a disruption. I don't like that. Anyway, okay, so did you guys check out the Charlie Kirk show? Let me just show you. Okay, so the Charlie Kirk show, I think Candace did. She showed a little bit of it yesterday of them going a little bit, upset. But here, let's take a look at this. Let me take this from here. Share this tab instead. Okay. As much as I don't want to play these guys, we will, because we got to see. Let me put myself down here. Will this work? There we go. Okay.
The backstory, but what really happened with the screen grabs, the notorious screen grabs now, and I revealed to this audience that I did, in fact, share that screen grab with Joe Kent, and Joe suggested that I leak that publicly. I declined. I went back through our messages, and he suggested I do so twice. I declined. Obviously, those were private messages. I wanted to keep them private for Charlie's sake. I thought it was honoring my friend. Anyways, so this new report comes out from Schellenberger, and it says, as you see on your screen, that Joe Kent says he's willing to testify at the trial of Tyler Robinson. So this is obviously a huge bombshell and escalates everything to a much bigger level. I have reached out to Michael Schellenberger, and he has agreed to come on the show today. He interviewed Joe Kent for this report. So these are Joe Kent's own words. Michael Schellenberger will be joining us at 1:30 Eastern. So set your clocks and please tune in then. It's going to be an important conversation. And Blake, let's just take this out a step and explain why this is actually a really important thing. As you know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that we do not indulge, that we do not discuss. This is different. Joe Kent was a government official at a very important post, and now he's saying he's willing to testify ostensibly on behalf of Tyler Robinson.
Yes.
This is a bigger deal. This is a line cross that we have not seen.
Yes. Let's just recite it, where he says, Kent, this is Shelley. Schellenberger's reporting on Substack. Kent said he knew he might be called as a witness before he made his statements that a, quote, foreign nexus may have been involved in Kirk's assassination. I was definitely warned of that over and over again, said Kent. If I end up having to play that role, then I'll do it. It's not something I'm seeking. When pressed that his testimony could help the Robinson defense, Kent said, then honestly, so be it. If it gets us to the truth, that's obviously the risk I'm taking. Neither Robinson's attorneys nor the prosecuting attorneys responded to a request for comment. And then I'm not sure if there's more. I might have to pay for Schellenberger's subscription.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm sure it does go further. And we're going to, like I said, be talking to Michael Schellenberger.
So what I was saying is that they're okay as long as you want to agree with what they're saying and what they think and what they believe is that Tyler Robinson is guilty, guilty, guilty. But as soon as you want to say anything and the investigation goes a different way, they don't want that, even though all along they've been saying that's what we want. We want to investigate, no stone unturned, but except for these ones. Don't overturn these stones.
The second half of next hour at 1:30 Eastern, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. This to me is galaxy brain run amok, and let me explain why I say that. Jonathan Turley, who is I guess he's a contributor to Fox News, legal contributor. He's a professor of law at George Washington University. Said that 90% of the evidence accumulated against Tyler Robinson could be thrown out. So the defense could be successful in throwing out 90% of the evidence, and he would still be found guilty of murder.
Let's refresh people. There is a murder weapon that was found near the site of the shooting. It was owned by Tyler Robinson's family.
Given to him by his grandpa.
Of the caliber used to shoot Charlie. It has his DNA all over it.
All over the casings.
They release a photo of the shooter. They are not able to find him otherwise. Tyler Robinson's parents see that photo and think, that looks like Tyler. They begin asking him things like, where is I believe it was his grandfather's gun. Mm-hmm. They start asking him this. Tyler Robinson starts talking like he might kill himself. They get a friend of the family to sit down with him. He admits that it's him. They get him to
He's hired. He's hired for the prosecution.
Drive up to Orem and turn himself in. His parents helped him turn him in. And we run into people who say that didn't happen or that's fabricated.
There's digital confessions.
There's digital confessions, but also his parents are out there. They have never stepped forward and said this is a lie. They could easily do that. It would be trivial to do that if it was the case. They have not done that. Mm-hmm. His parents turned him in. That is the most obvious piece of evidence in the world that nothing can argue around. And some people are so obsessed with these same conspiracies that they concoct for every other thing that ever happens. And so they have to shove it into this one too, because they care more about their conspiracy theories than about the person who murdered my friend facing justice. I am fed up with it.
Yeah, and you should be. And this is, I mean, this is a tough job for us today, to be honest, because this is really personal. I have been open to everything. I think, candidly, I don't get enough credit.
It doesn't sound like you're open to everything.
The fact that I shared these group chats in the first place. We shared a lot of information about trans, about Charlie, how Charlie was more concerned about than any other community about the trans coming after him.
And since he shared the text about Israel, then he thought maybe it was worth looking into. That's why he shared it with Joe. But that's not okay. Now,
you want to know the truth? That's
You
actually the
suck,
truth.
no.
I heard over the course of the last 2 years of Charlie's life, probably about 50 references of how he knew the trans Tifa was going to come after him, and he was worried about that. That's the truth. Never mentioned one time about the Jews. Okay, never once. And here's why it's so frustrating is because there is going to be even more evidence that is presented to the public in May at the evidentiary hearing. Okay, and it's a mountain of evidence, some of which has been made public, some of which has not been made public yet. And the prosecution is going to lay out its case against Tyler Robinson. And I'm told it's a whopper. I'm told they've got this guy dead to rights. And meanwhile, you have government officials that are now saying on the record to journalists they are willing to testify on behalf of the defense to get, ostensibly, to get Tyler Robinson off the hook for something that he did. And so the level of betrayal that I currently feel is dramatic and extreme. The level of just frustration, the idiocy that is on full display, we have to call it out, because if this ends up screwing up the jury pool, if this ends up in some ways getting a hung jury, getting this case thrown out, or even just getting the death penalty off the case, off the potential list of consequences here, I'm not going to be happy with that. I'm telling you that as somebody who was open to all different options, I didn't care where the truth led. This is where the truth led. This is it. And for any fair-minded person, this is crackpot conspiracy garbage brain rot.
This is it. This is where it landed. We don't need a jury, you guys. We don't need a jury. They said so. It's it. The prosecution says so. That's it. It's done. Done deal. Like, we don't even need to go to court. We can stop investigating now. That's insane. They're liars. They're such liars. Oh, they're such liars. Okay. Let's go. Let's see what else they have to say.
Stuff.
Then we'll
and now
get
it's
to the
gotten
papers.
really serious. This isn't podcaster junk. This isn't like social media conspiracy nonsense. This is an actual government official who's now going to be called to testify on behalf of the defense. And that is a bridge too far. That is a line in the sand that we must hold, because this could negatively impact the trial of the assassin of my friend, of Blake's friend. So that's the breaking news. I don't want to dwell on it for the whole show here.
I
we're
think
going to
you
have
do.
Michael Schellenberger come on next in the next hour. And
I think he does want to dwell on it. I think he does. Okay. So then today, is this today? Yeah. They have somebody else on their show to convince us, to let us know that it's not a big deal, this new finding, and that it's okay. Let's go. Let me share this one. This is from their show today. And I really want to go like this. Okay.
people should know. People should
know. They're going to tell us.
Bitcoin.com studio.
Bitcoin.
Actually breaking.
That's
There's a
really
breaking
what we actually
headline.
want to emphasize, because there's several pieces of it, and what people decided to run with online was pretty different from what you and I actually think is the biggest reveal of it.
There was actually a lot of reveals, but people should know this. So essentially, the Daily Mail comes out with an article that says the bullet does not match the gun.
This is the literal headline that the Daily Mail used, and which got millions of views on X.
Millions.
The headline was, "Bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk did not, all caps, match rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. New court filing claims." Now, we're going to have to unpack that
We're going to
immediately.
unpack a lot of that. But here to help us do
You're
it
going to have to.
is somebody that I've been watching online for a while now. I've been really impressed with his takes. I've never met him in person before, but he agreed to come on because he was instantly on top of this story. His name is Justin Nazaroff. He's the CEO of Phoenix Ammunition. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it was the first time I've ever seen you, Justin, so it's great to see you. So let's just take apart this headline from the Daily Mail. I saw you criticizing it as sort of an egregious misrepresentation of the facts. They're saying the bullet does not match the rifle, court filing claims, right? What's your read of what actually it says?
Well, I mean, it's one of those headlines where they can say something that's true, but because they leave out the context, as soon as you read the article, you can see why it's false. And so what they did was they analyzed a bullet jacket fragment and were unable to determine that it came from the shooter's rifle. So unfortunately, ballistic science is, in a lot of cases, a best guess, and in many other cases, pseudoscience. But what we know is it doesn't work like CSI Las Vegas. When a bullet hits something and deforms, which is what we've been talking about the whole time, we're assuming that the shooter probably used a hollow point or some other bullet that is functionally intended to deform when it hits something. And so when it does that, it doesn't come out in a nice, perfect form where you can see all the lands and grooves from the barrel and make a positive match. So in this case, they can't determine whether the bullet was fired from the rifle, but they also can't determine that it wasn't fired from the rifle. That's effectively all they're saying. They're saying that there's some reasonable doubt that it could theoretically have been something else. Now, and I'm not making an affirmative declaration one way or another. I want people to understand that this has nothing.
Okay, reasonable doubt. That's what they look for. That's what defense looks for. It's the prosecution's job to remove reasonable doubt. So it's happening. It's working the way it's supposed to, right, Justin Nazaroff?
To do with what I think happened or what anybody else thinks happened. All I'm doing is looking at the facts. And as somebody who's been doing this for a very long time, knowing that most people just really don't understand much about firearms generally, and even people in the firearms community who do understand firearms generally don't really know a lot about ammunition.
Yeah, and so you're saying basically because the fragmentation of the bullet was so severe, I don't mean to sort of infer by your tone here, but you're saying, of course, this would be one of the options that, of course, you wouldn't be able to necessarily identify it via forensic evidence with the gun. There's other ways you could. Now, the caliber matches, all of these kinds of things. But, you know, I think what people expect is sort of the CSI version of reality.
A lot of people think, and I think this is a graphic you can see in TV shows or movies, where they'll take like a bunch of little pieces of metal out of like, you know,
thin air,
and then they'll like put them all onto like a little, you know, machine, and then like the computer will assemble all the bits, and they'll just see it. Oh, they'll like bend the bits and reassemble the bullet, and then like green text will pop up that says confirmed
ding,
match.
ding, ding. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna read one of your tweets. I'm not gonna put it up on screen because you use some colorful language here, Justin. But you say completely and utterly misleading garbage about this Daily Mail headline. You say the bullet is unable to be identified because it's you use more colorful language here. It's fragmented into a bunch of pieces. And when that happens, they don't do some magic CSI Las Vegas animation where they manage to reassemble the bullet and perfectly align the lands and grooves to match a barrel. None of that is real. That is not how science works. And then, you know, it was interesting to watch the internet last night. This story hits, all the usual suspects take it and run it. And then a bunch of saner voices come in and say, this is not something new. We've known that the bullet fragmented. We knew that, like, lining it up perfectly
in the first days afterwards.
Yeah, lining it perfectly up to the rifle was going to be a challenge. But there's other ways that you could match in theory, right? And again, I respect that you're not trying to say this happened or that happened. You're just giving us the details, you give us the facts. There's other ways you could match a gun to a bullet, correct?
Yeah,
like
well, as an example,
match,
they could test the metal and show this is the same metal as the rounds that were recovered with the rifle. Sure. Which, remember, we have a rifle with rounds that have political messages engraved on them.
And the casing that they have from this also has a message engraved on it, apparently, that matches.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess I'll even walk that back a bit further. It's actually very difficult to match a bullet to a rifle. So, for example, 30-06 as a cartridge uses the same bullet that's used in .308 Winchester. So even if you recovered a .308 diameter bullet that was perfectly intact, if you didn't have the rifle that it was fired from to match the lands and grooves, there would be no way for you to determine that it was fired from a rifle chambered in .308 Winchester or 30-06. And so then when you start mangling up bullets that are roughly about the same size, a lot of medium to large caliber rifles use projectiles that are roughly the same length, roughly the same weight, roughly the same diameter. So if you smash those up into pieces, you may not even, if they didn't have a rifle to compare it to, there's no guarantee that they would even be able to know what the caliber of the cartridge was beyond reasonable doubt. So it's a very inexact science. And in this case, you know, Candace Owens, I hate to bring her up, but she mentioned on her podcast on September 25th that the bullet was fragmented into pieces. So this is something that, you know, the people on that side of the fence have known for a long time. And they're just basically milking more views and more audience out of the same information we already had. It's basically like Schrodinger's bullet, right? If they had managed to recover a fully intact bullet where the lands and grooves matched perfectly, People on the other side would say, well, it's obvious that the bullet was planted because you're telling me that a bullet was fired through a human being and it was in perfect condition. There's no way that came out of Charlie Kirk. It must have been something that they fired in a test range, and this is what they're using to frame the shooter.
Right.
But in this case, because it's broken up into pieces, they can say, oh, well, see, we can't even identify the bullet. So it must not have been Tyler Robinson. It has to be somebody else. It's just, it's nonsense.
Justin, hang right there. We got another segment with you. But just to sum it up for the audience here, inconclusive or unable to identify is not the same as does not match. So
it's a reckless headline.
It kind of is.
Know what they were doing.
It actually is. And if it said it matched, you're right, Jamie. Or is that, who said that? Yes, Ambassador. Hi, Ambassador. Yes, they most definitely would be screaming that, and that would be a headline. A headline for them for sure. So, about the whole thing. So there's a couple of things that have been bouncing around in my mind. You know how they had the towel wrapped around the gun as evidence? And I was thinking, wait a minute, why would Tyler need a towel to be wrapped around the gun? He had a gun case. We saw that, like, he jumped off the roof with this gun case. Like, why would he need a towel too? So anyways, that's just something I'm like, wait, that part doesn't even make sense. Welcome in, everybody. Please hit the thumbs up and hit the heart in the chat to let the algorithm know we're here. Let's see, Jay, unable to match, so less possible evidence for him being the shooter. Exactly. But, it's the prosecution. They're the ones who are bringing that in as evidence. So, of course, the defense is going to have rebuttal to that. So anyway, okay, let's get to this. So there's another, if we have time, we'll look at there's a redacted news had something about Joe Kent. He's being criticized and accused of running a psyop. And of course, the rest of us are being accused of that too. So anyway, so I wanted to get to this and read this to you. Let me pull up. I might need my glasses. So maybe I'll do this. Show this instead. And let me go here. Okay. So what I did is I plugged in, the whole filing into ChatGPT to help us break down exactly what, everything means and what it doesn't mean and all of that. So I thought we'd go through a cursory, little crash course about the plain English of it all. Let me see if I can see better with this. Not really. Sometimes the glasses help and sometimes they really don't. So anyway, so the document that we're going to look at was the formal legal request filed by Tyler Robinson's team. They want to postpone the hearing or the preliminary hearing because they don't have all the evidence. Just like I said after the last trial, they are saying they don't have all the forensic, they don't have all the files, they don't have all of that to be ready to go. And they've been asking for these things for months now, and they haven't got all of it. So they are, wanting to postpone that. Also, their team, their forensic people, they're saying if we look at this, we're going to need at least 6 months to go through all of the information to be able to make a recommendation or to give our findings and all of that. So anyway, what we know is, let's see, a motion. We know what that is. That's writing to request something of the judge. A motion is asking the judge to do something. In this case, they're asking him to vacate. So either get rid of it completely or to reschedule it. Local news here, Cisco says, local news here claims the bullet doesn't match his defense claim. Yeah. But it's true. The ATF couldn't make heads or tail of it. Okay. Preliminary hearing, also called is the court hearing before the full trial, where they get to to put on their case. The defense gets to put on their case to see if it'll actually move forward to trial too. A lot of times they will make a pleading either to dismiss or, a lot of times they try to get that to happen. So anyways, then we know what discovery is all of the evidence that they have or don't have. Capital case we know is a murder case with the death penalty. That is on the table for Tyler. Hearsay is normally out-of-court statements that cannot be used as evidence. But in Utah preliminary hearings, the state is allowed to use certain reliable hearsay. Let me see. I want to see if, okay, so I can let you know where I'm at here. Okay, so I'm right in this one. They are able to use reliable hearsay only if the defense has received appropriate discovery, which they're saying they have not. And we'll get into that. They go through all of that in the paperwork. The Sixth Amendment is the guarantee of the right to a lawyer, the right to confront or cross-examine witnesses and expert witnesses. The Eighth Amendment requires heightened reliability. In death penalty cases, they have a higher bar of what they can put on their case and what they have to prove. So let's see. Utah Rule of Criminal Procedure 7B is the rule that governs how preliminary hearings work in Utah and gives the defendant the right to present evidence and cross-examine. Good cause is the legal standard the judge must find before granting a delay. So what people like Blake and like Andrew are claiming is that the defense is just trying to delay the hearing, which is not the case. I don't believe that's the case. Okay. What the motion and they give clear reasons as to why they need this, and it's just it's common sense. It's literally common sense. So the state plans to use DNA reports. So we're right here. Ballistic reports, crime scene testimony, and a lot of hearsay lab reports at the May hearing, but the defense has not received any of the underlying raw data, electronic files, validation studies, protocols, bench notes. Their experts need to check out whether those reports are reliable, and without that, the lawyers can't do their job. So the defense has been working hard. They've received 61,500 pages plus 700 plus hours of video and 31 hours of audio, 12 terabytes of digital evidence. Their paralegals are still organizing and error checking it. They have been asking for the missing forensics files since September. They've been asking, and they just had a meeting after the last court hearing to try to get that, and they still haven't received it. As a matter of fact, they didn't even receive a picture of the autopsy. They didn't even receive that until March 18th. And supposedly, the prosecution, the FBI, the ATF, according to everybody, Blake and the Andrews of it all, say that there's mountains of evidence. However, they're not providing those mountains of evidence. So, okay. So the 5-factor test on why the judge should grant the delay, the lawyers walk through each of the 5 factors and show that they all favor delay. So we are right here on number 3. No one has asked to delay this hearing before. Delaying causes almost no inconvenience to witnesses or lawyers. Most of them are local. We know that 2 of the lawyers that they brought in are from California. Those are, more to do with capital hearings and expert attorneys dealing in that. So the request is legitimate, not a stall tactic. They genuinely need the evidence. Tyler and his team did nothing to cause the delay. In fact, they've been trying to get the information they need. And going forward without the evidence would seriously hurt Tyler's ability to defend himself. Common sense. Let's see. Jamie, hello. I wonder how much of that 12 terabytes of video are that what we haven't seen. Yeah, I would like to know that. And I'm sure some of it is that hospital footage. I mean, you would think, because we know they took that. What did I think of the defense team? So, Michael Burt is a bit stern, and he was hard to get a read on. Was that Michael Burt? I think I'm getting there. I'll go back and make sure that I have their names correct. The one that I spoke to after the hearing, he seemed good. Of course, it does always concern me because we know that we know from history that these people could be sent to kind of throw the game, so to speak. So in these like more conspiratorial type cases where they really want somebody to, where they really want a patsy. So that, is always a concern for me. I'm concerned for Tyler's safety still, though. If Tyler speaks, what he says could be a game changer and put suspicion on others. Yes, his safety is utmost. So they have to prove that they have enough evidence against him to warrant holding him for all these months and for the months leading up to the trial and during the trial. So, and to me, it looks like they have not fulfilled that obligation. Let's see. Okay. What they are missing here, they're missing forensic materials, and they haven't been turned over. If they haven't, okay, so what they're asking the judge to do is that the forensic files be turned over by the 17th. If it isn't, they want to cancel the hearing, and if they are turned over by that date, then they need an additional 6 months to process and go through all of that with their experts. So, bottom line, in everyday terms, they're saying we're not trying to drag our feet, we're drowning in evidence, but yet they still have more evidence to go through and to run through. So, anyways, so that's that. So. And before we get into it too, I'll put keywords into the form so that we can look those up, but like bullets and ballistics and all of that. But let's see. Here's exactly what the motion says about the evidence. In plain English with direct quotes, blah, blah, the lawyers are not describing what the evidence proves, that they are DNA matches. Instead, they list the types of forensic evidence and the state plans to use at the May preliminary hearing and explain why the defense still can't properly review it. The state's given the defense only summary conclusory reports for most scientific evidence. So what they're saying, they're not giving them like the raw data. They're just saying, here's what they're saying, and you just need to take our word for it and like trust us. We're doing our job. That it is what we say it is. So the defense is saying, no, we're not going to do that. Yes, yes. Let's see. The state intends to present ballistics from the FBI and the ATF. The ATF was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Tyler Robinson. So they couldn't match it. So the FBI is still, running their tests and all of that. They're not complete. They're missing both agencies' full case files, protocols, lab notes, and any supporting data. The defense may want to call the ATF analyst as a witness to show this non-match, but they can't prepare without the full file. Makes sense. Latent fingerprints. The motion does mention fingerprint evidence in the attached informal discovery request, Exhibit F. There are multiple latent fingerprint reports. Let's see, the state may use the FBI report from September 15th, ATF from September 15th and December 22nd, and the Utah Bureau of Forensic Services, September 25th. One ATF fingerprint specialist, Vicky Paez, is listed as a possible witness. They still are missing full files, specific points of comparison the examiners used that made those identifications, validation, and the results and any database searches. DNA evidence. Number 3, the state plans to use the DNA reports from the FBI and ATF. Let's see. Only minute quantities of DNA were found on various items. Many samples are complex mixtures from 5 or more people. That doesn't remove doubt. Many samples are, so both agencies are STR mix software to try to sort out the contributors. Let's see. The defense and their experts say these reports cannot be properly challenged without raw electronic data files, validation studies, lab protocols, standard operating procedures, bench notes, chain of custody records. Their DNA expert, Dr. Libby Johnson, and forensics bioinformatics say they will need roughly 6 months. And they attach those from the forensic experts saying, gosh, we'll need this amount of time to go through all of that. So the autopsy. The state plans to introduce the autopsy report dated September 16th without calling a live expert, just the hearsay report. Defense received the report in November 2025, but the autopsy photographs taken on September 10th were not given to them until March 18th, 2026. Why did it take these guys so long to send over the photographs? Could it be possibly they're being doctored? Could it be? Oh my goodness. Jamie says discovery. Doesn't the defense get all the evidence? They're supposed to. They are supposed to. Please hit the like button. Yes, please. The like and the heart next to the chat. Okay, so the defense is now hiring an independent pathologist, but expects the expert will need even more material, tissue samples, once they start reviewing. So they'll need those lab samples. And I wonder if the FBI and ATF have those. Those pictures not getting to the defense team until March 18th is really sus. To me, that's really sus. That's odd, seeing that they sent over the report in November. They had those pictures. Why would they want to hold on to them? Other evidence mentioned are the phone and social media data, crime scene and search location testimony from law enforcement. We know that what was his name, who just resigned? Sheriff Nate Brooksby. He just retired or resigned, whatever the case is, voluntarily. That's pretty timely. Let's see. Testimony from Robinson's parents and roommates. So they are saying that this is evidence that's going to be introduced. We'll have to look in the paperwork to see if this is a prosecution witness. I'm sure it is, because, I would have to say they would most likely seem to be hostile witnesses unless they're voluntarily doing this and wanting to do that. But I don't think that's the case. But the state also plans to use hearsay lab reports, officer statements, lay witness statements under Utah rule. So in a preliminary hearing, they can provide that, but they also have to provide those witnesses and make them available to the defense to cross-examine. And also they have a greater, as we spoke earlier, they have a greater responsibility to give even more information than hearsay because it's a capital case. Okay. So bottom line for the filing, Mr. Robinson has not received the forensic case files and data necessary to investigate through the use of qualified expert, the scientific reports and state intends to introduce at the preliminary hearing. and they can't cross-examine effectively or present their own experts at the May hearing until they get the full underlying data listed above. Okay. So that's that. Now let's go to, I will flip back and forth to these two. Let me see, share this tab instead. All right. So here is the actual filing. We have Michael Burt of California. Let's see. Richard Novak. Yeah, he's the one. Richard Novak is the attorney I spoke to after the hearing last month, and he's the one who seemed more friendly and affable, whereas Michael Burt was quite cranky. And as a matter of fact, when I made a phone call asking for a comment on something, Michael Burt was quite stern and not a very friendly chap at all. So, yeah, obviously you're going to try to get a comment. You most likely expect to hear something like, well, we can't comment, which is what I expected. It was the way that he said it. It was just, so anyway, there we go. So this is just, introduction. Defendant Tyler Robinson, by and through his counsel of record, moved the honorable court to vacate or continue. So he's either dismiss the case, cancel the case, or continue the case for this hearing pending completion of the relevant aspects of discovery. Okay, let's see. They're asking for 6 months at least from April 17th as a cutoff date for when if they get all of the paperwork and all of that stuff. So, okay, Mr. Robinson seeks to continue the hearing. He has the right. Where am I? Oh, okay. Has the right at a preliminary hearing to present evidence, to call his own witnesses, and to have meaningful opportunity to cross-examine the state witnesses. Under the circumstances that presently exist, Mr. Robinson is unable to exercise those rights in a constitutionally adequate and meaningful manner until the relevant yet missing discovery provided to his counsel has a reasonable opportunity for defense experts to review those materials and consult with defense counsel concerning their own findings. Thanks for the super chat, Jamie. Yes, and Jamie, yes, the prosecution case is worse than weak. Yeah, I know. I'm worried about his life too. And so even, if he gets out, if the defense is able to prove that they can't hold Tyler, that's even a little bit more scary, because if Tyler is able to leave the jail, that gives more opportunity for him to be harmed, and either to harm himself or, have somebody else do it, and, or have accidents happen, how those accidents happen. So that concerns me a bit, but, too, he shouldn't be held when there isn't enough evidence to hold him, which it looks like there's not. Okay. The following memorandum demonstrates good cause for the court to continue. Okay. So on March 12th, counsel for the parties met and conferred regarding the discovery issues and the evidence the state intends to present at the preliminary hearing. Based on the state's representations at this meeting, the state intends to present discrete buckets of evidence through 3 identified law enforcement witnesses. This includes conclusory forensic DNA, ballistic reports authored by the FBI and the ATF, phone and social media data, testimony by law enforcement officials about the crime scene and search locations, and testimony by Mr. Robinson, his parents, and roommate. So the prosecution wants to have these witnesses for prosecution. The state intends to offer a significant amount of hearsay identified in Utah Rule of Evidence 1102 for the use at a preliminary hearing, namely scientific laboratory, forensic reports and records pursuant to the rule, presumably the statements of non-testifying peace officers to the testifying peace officers pursuant to Rule 1102, and as yet unidentified lay witness statements pursuant to Rule 1102b8. The discovery in this case is incomplete, voluminous, and processing of it is complex. So, in total, so we know this, so they need to devote significant amount of time to their processing, error checking, and organization before it can be reviewed and otherwise utilized by counsel. In total, they're reiterating how much they have to go through and how much work they have before them. The defense team has devoted and will continue to devote significant resources to processing discovery, including identifying materials not yet received to inform readiness of the preliminary hearing. Yeah, I don't think they have said how they. That's silly. That's just silly. That whole narrative. Let's see. Mr. Robinson has not received the forensic case files, so we know that. During the hearing held on January 16th, counsel for the parties discussed the status of the laboratory files, and the UCAO informed the defense that they too were awaiting the files. This was memorialized in a letter to the state on February 3rd, wherein Mr. Robinson's counsel also sought specific information. So again, all through the process, they've been asking for more, like give us what we need so we can do our job. So it isn't their fault that they need an extension. Okay. So let's go ahead and move past this. Both Utah law and constitutional principles establish that there is good cause to continue the preliminary hearing to ensure Mr. Robinson receives adequate discovery relative to the anticipated preliminary hearing evidence, and to protect Mr. Robinson's right to the effective assistance of counsel in preparing for and at preliminary hearing. So they list the code of why they're asking for the continuance, why they're asking for a delay, and that it's necessary for good cause. They're not being frivolous. I don't believe it shows that they're being frivolous at all, as Blake and Andrew would have it. And then they list case law. Okay. Where are we? You're at page. Okay. So we can kind of go through this part kind of quickly. There's not been a request for prior hearing. Okay. So in response to defense's counsel stated concerns that it was at the time premature to do so, the court stated, I do not find that there is any prejudice in setting a date for a preliminary hearing. It is not set in stone, and it certainly can be moved. So they're quoting the judge saying, hey, remember you said this? So they just lay out their case so that the judge doesn't have to do a lot of thinking or digging or research. That's their job. That's what the lawyer's job is they lay it all out there in a simple form so the judge can look at it and rule and not have to do a lot of work because, he's a judge. Judges don't have to do that. He went through being a lawyer. Now he's a judge. He gets to have people do this for him. And so that's what they're saying. Hey, remember, Judge, you said this can be moved. It's not set in stone. We can set this date. But, of course, people try to paint it in a bad light when the defense wants to go ahead and move it. Prosecution too, whenever the prosecution is seeking that, people tend to look at it negatively as if they're doing it for their own benefit. But but I also recognize the importance of the case moving forward. And if nothing more than this is a goal for the preliminary hearing, if it needs to be changed, the court understands that. That is what happens a lot in the criminal calendars and dockets. Again, this is a goal. It's not a date. If we can't meet, there is any prejudice that will attach to the party in regards to May 18th. How does that look for the council? So they're just quoting the judge in that. So they just said it, just thinking, hey, let's just put it on the calendar, get it there. If it needs to be changed, fine, no problem. So I'm anticipating that the judge will say, yeah, it's fine. Go ahead. Let's see. The setting of the hearing occurred less than 90 days after proceedings commenced. And Mr. Nestor advised the court in December 2025 that it was likely premature to set a preliminary hearing, even when set for 6 months later. And her warning was prescient. They use big old words, don't they? Prescient. We just learned something new, guys. Okay. Notwithstanding, the federal law enforcement agencies, ATF and FBI and SBI, have not been able to produce discovery. So, as you can see, Blake and Andrew were trying to spin it all kinds of ways. Prescient. Let's go. Drop the definition in there for us. The balancing of convenience and inconvenience of a continuance weighs in favor of granting a continuance. So they're saying, it leans more in favor of there's nothing to say or, nothing proving that we shouldn't do this and that we don't have just cause in asking this. Okay, so then they're saying Mr. Robinson may seek to examine one or more of the forensic examiners. Okay, so they want to do that. There is likely no inconvenience to counsel for either the two parties of this action, so we already know that. Okay. Overall, the second factor favors granting continuance. So based on law and rules, it leans in favor of granting the continuance. And the request for continuance is legitimate and not contrived, where Mr. Robinson has not received adequate discovery. So now they're just laying all that out again about the discovery. Now, Mr. Robinson's request for continuance is legitimate for 3 reasons. First, Mr. Robinson has yet to receive the discovery. Okay, let's see. Section 12, that it's necessary for the state to proceed at the preliminary hearing with reliable hearsay, namely the complete forensic files and data necessary for defense experts to review the evidence and consult with defense counsel. Second, Mr. Robinson will be denied his constitutional rights to the effective assistance of counsel in preparing for and at the preliminary hearing if defense counsel is unable to investigate the evidence. Finally, the appropriate discovery being requested is complex and requires more time than is presently afforded. Okay, and then of course it talks more about his right. Okay, so allowing the state to proceed with reliable hearsay before the completion of appropriate discovery violates Utah Constitution, which says the preliminary hearing is a fundamental procedural right guaranteed by Article 1, Section 13 of the Utah's Constitution to a defendant charged with any felony or any Class A misdemeanor. In Utah, the preliminary hearing is used to determine whether there is sufficient cause to believe a crime has been committed and warrant further proceedings. At a preliminary hearing, the state must establish a factual and legal basis for binding the defendant over for trial. The preliminary hearing is supposed to provide a meaningful opportunity for magistrates to ferret out groundless and improvident prosecutions. More on law. Oh, having prescience. Okay, let's see. What does this go? Having prescience or knowledge of things or events before they exist or happen. Thank you. Now, oh, Mormon law. I thought you said moron law. Mormon law. Yeah. Okay, let's see. As related to evidence and discovery, thank you guys for coming in. Please, if it's your first time here, hit the thumbs up, hit the heart next to the chat, subscribe to all notifications. I appreciate you being here at Teresa Better Live and friends. As related to evidence and discovery in anticipation of preliminary hearing. Thank you, Undertaker's wife. Oh, Undertaker's wife. That sounds like isn't there a wrestler named The Undertaker? You may have gone over this, but what is your background law? You are making that brief look easy. Thanks for the review. Your work is very appreciated. Thank you so much. I am not. I used ChatGPT, Grok, and read through this to get a solid. I was up early today to try to get a solid understanding of what was going on. So I'm just here with you, with the rest of you, trying to figure it out and educate ourselves so that we know what we're dealing with. So when the haters try to come at us, we are armed with knowledge and information. Okay. Thanks, Jamie. Okay. As related to evidence and discovery in anticipation of preliminary hearing, Utah Constitute article. So then they're just stating nothing is in this Constitution shall preclude the use of reliable hearsay evidence as defined by the statute law. So they're just talking about law here. I have reached out. I'm reaching out to attorneys, though, that are here locally with me that would want to come and join and help us out at times, which would be a lot of fun. Okay. Prior to preliminary hearing, Utah Rule of Criminal Procedure 16 requires the prosecution to disclose every case, all material or information listed under paragraph A1 that is presently and reasonably available to the prosecutor prior to the preliminary examination. The categories of evidence listed in paragraph A1 are the following materials: directly related to the case of which the prosecution team has knowledge or control. Written or recorded statements of the defendant and any confidants and substance of any unrecorded oral statements made by the defendant and any confidants to law enforcement officials. So there's a lot of hearsay going on. Reports and results of any physical or mental examination of any identification procedure and of any scientific test or experiment. Physical and electronic evidence, including any warrants, warrant affidavits, books, papers, documents, photographs, and digital media recordings. Written or recorded statements of witnesses, reports prepared by law enforcement officials, and any notes that are not incorporated into the such report, and evidence that must be disclosed under United States and Utah constitutions, including all evidence favorable to the defendant that is material to guilt or punishment. And let's see. Prosecution team includes law enforcement officers working on the case. So they are stating case law, information known to police officers working on the case charged to the prosecution, since the officers are part of the prosecution team. Prosecution must go beyond their own files to determine whether others involved in the prosecution or the investigation have responsive materials. Okay, here are the materials known to the police prosecution team that have not yet been provided. While it is anticipated that the discovery in the case will be ongoing throughout the duration, the defense is seeking the material known to be reasonably available to the prosecution. That is, material known to be in the possession of the law enforcement partners identified by the state. Both UCAO and Mr. Robinson continue to await a vast amount of information relevant to a review of the FBI and ATF DNA analysis, including but not limited to validation studies. So we already went the data files, talked about that, report case files, comparative bullet analysis, bullet lead analysis. That is still in progress at the FBI. Do we trust that? So that's why they need their own experts. And the case file and the protocols for comparative bullet analysis conducted by the ATF, the Novak declaration. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying. All right. The weather's been amazing, you guys. It's been rainy here and it hailed a bit. Okay, in addition to the outline letter, there are various other areas of forensic science. Okay. Let's see, discovery are not complete. They're not yet complete. So the defense counsel may decide whether to proffer an exculpatory evidence relating to these areas of forensic evidence. So anything pointing and saying you did it, that's what they need. The continuance is necessary for Mr. Robinson to go through, have his constitutional rights and statutory entitlements, and because of the Utah Constitution, Article 1, providing appropriate discovery is a precondition to the state introducing any hearsay reports. This is a legitimate reason to continue the hearing. So again, they're just listing more reasons to make it easy for the judge to say, yeah, you're right. Okay. Continuance is necessary for Mr. Robinson to receive his constitutional right. Okay. The United States Supreme Court observed long ago that the most critical period of a criminal proceeding may be from the time of arraignment until the beginning of trial, when consultation, thoroughgoing investigation, and preparation are vitally important. So then there's their listing case law again. Okay. And now they're talking about the preliminary hearing, that a prosecutor who files a criminal information commences adversary litigation. The defendant then has the right to be informed of the charges and all of the evidence. And he's listing more case law. Okay, and then this is just more case law that's being quoted. More case law here. For counsel to be able to effectively vindicate the above rights, at minimum, counsel must be provided with the evidence against his client and a reasonable opportunity to investigate and prepare for the preliminary hearing. So again, he's just listing reasons why the judge should go ahead and grant this. And more case law. With respect to the guilt-innocence phase, the defense counsel must independently investigate the circumstances of the crime and all evidence. So again, more guidelines in case law. And more decisions of that case law that they're quoting. And again, in order to fulfill that constitutional guarantee and render effective assistance of counsel, counsel must be given adequate time to prepare for each stage. And now we should be getting closer to let's go. More case law. Capital cases, here's an important thing. Capital cases are fundamentally different than any other criminal case, not only in the severity of the potential penalty, but the nature of the evidence and information which must be developed and, where appropriate, confronted and challenged by both parties. This is a legitimate reason to continue a continuance in the preliminary hearing. Okay, so more case law. We get this, and let's go ahead and you guys tell me if Candace announces when she's going on. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to, let's look up evidence, because I wanted to get, Jamie says, can you imagine the guards in that county jail guarding Tyler? They don't like that, knowing the stakes. Yeah, that's got to be kind of scary. Yeah, you've got a lot of eyes on you, and you're going to have a lot to answer for if something goes wrong. Okay, let's see. We're going to go. We want to know about evidence. Let's go with... Oh, we skipped evidence. I'm just trying to get through the case law part. So that we can get to what they have. So let's get to, let's go. Let's go with that. Bullet analysis. Okay. While it is anticipated that discovery in this case will be ongoing throughout the duration, the defense is seeking the materials known to be reasonably available. Okay, we already have that. We already read that one. Okay, here it is. Regarding the firearm evidence, which we've already heard about this part. Regarding the firearm evidence, the defense has been provided with an ATF summary report, which indicates that the ATF was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson. Although the state has not indicated an intent to produce this report at the preliminary hearing, the defense may very well decide to offer the testimony of the ATF firearm analyst as exculpatory evidence. In order to make this determination, it is necessary for the defense and its firearm expert to review the ATF case file and protocols relating to this examination, which have not yet been provided. The state has also indicated that the FBI is in process of conducting a second comparative bullet analysis, as well as a bullet lead analysis, but that these analyses are not yet complete. Again, until the defense receives the case files and protocols relating to these analyses and has them independently evaluated by its expert, they will not be in a position to assess the reliability of this evidence if either the state or defense decide to proffer it. There are also several other categories of incomplete forensic discovery outlined in the defense's informal discovery request. Until the defense receives the case files and protocols relating to these analyses and has them independently evaluated, they will not be in a position to assess the reliability of the evidence if either state or the defense decides to offer it. Okay, Now let's go to the next, if there's another. Okay, got those ones, that one. Okay, here we go. We have no reports, case files, protocols, proficiency tests of analysis or reviewers, CVs, or analysis of reviewers or developmental internal validation data regarding the FBI's anticipated comparative bullet analysis or its anticipated lead composition analysis when and if the work is complete. We request that these categories of discovery be provided. We have been provided a summary FBI report dated September 14th, Bates number 8, which references information provided by the Domestic Strategic Unit regarding the writing on the bullet casings found on the Utah Valley University campus. We request copies of all information and documents provided by this unit. Now, my question is why? If they have the information, why are they withholding it from the defense? Why? They have mountains everybody's so proud of. The prosecution, Blake Neff, Andrew Kolvet, Erica Kirk, they're so fond of the prosecution's case and are so proud that they have all these mountains of evidence, but they don't, apparently they've seen it, but they're not sharing it with the defense. How are they sharing it with Erica, Andrew, and Blake, but they're not sharing it with the defense? So they're lying. Somebody's lying. Keep focusing here. Hello. Keep focusing. Good to see you. Good to see everybody back here. Okay. We have received 3 bullet tool mark examination reports from the ATF, September 17th report, and the report number and the submission number, October 6, 2025 report and submission, and February 25th, 2026 report submission. We have no case files, protocols, proficiency tests of analysis or the reviewers or the CVs, that's their resume, of analysts or reviewers or developmental internal validation data regarding these reports. We request that this material be provided. Duh. Give us the reports. Why aren't they giving over the reports? They're just saying, hey, this is what we've got. This is what it means. You can trust us. Let's go ahead and prosecute this guy and kill him. Missed you too. Keep focusing. Okay. Latent fingerprint examinations. I'm sure you've all heard. We have received 1 latent fingerprint report from the FBI dated September 15th. Lab number, cover page to case file for the lab, Bates number 121, case notes, a document entitled Asset Details, copies of known prints of Tyler Robinson, photos of them, Photoshop action description, document entitled Asset Details, blind verification, and additional photographs of latent and known prints. In addition, we have received the FBI's latent print protocols and the resumes of the latent prints examiners, Kuznetsova and Swank. It's unclear whether we have received the entirety of the case file, as there is no indication in the materials provided what points of comparison the examiners were relying on to make their identification. Yeah, so they have to, whenever they have to have a comparison sample. So if they're saying, this is what we found, that it's Tyler Robinson's, then you're comparing that to what sample? So they need that information. As there is no indication of the materials provided, what points of comparison the examiners were relying on to make their identification, we request the entire case file. These people are professionals, are they not? Do they not know this is what's required in a trial? Why would anybody share evidence with Erica? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For this examination and identification of the points of comparison being relied upon to make an identification. Okay. The United States Robinson. So they're citing case law. We also request proficiency tests of all analysts or reviewers, including Michelle Howard, and the CVs of all the analysts and reviewers, including Michelle Howard, and the developmental internal validation data for the ACE-V methodology detailed in the report and protocols. Lastly, we request any photographic or documentary output, including the list of any potential candidates and that resulted from the automated searches of appropriate prints referenced in the reports. We have received 2 latent fingerprint reports from the ATF. We have no case files from the analysts or the reviewers, no resumes from them, or developmental validation, including the list of any potential candidates and that resulted from the automated searches. Okay. We have received 1 latent fingerprint from the Utah Bureau of Forensic Services, dated September 25th. We have no case files, protocols, proficiency tests of analysis reviewers, or developmental internal validation data regarding these reports. We request that this material be provided. Shoe impression. So we've got a shoe impression evidence. Here. We have received 1 shoe impression report from the ATF dated October 6th. We have no case files, protocols, proficiency tests of analysts or reviewers, or the CVs of the analysts or reviewers, or developmental internal validation data regarding these reports. We request that material be provided. Question documents. We have received 1 questioned document report from the FBI dated November 7th. We have no case files, protocols, proficiency tests, or analysts or reviewers. Still, they have nothing. Just a report. They just have the report and nothing to back it up. Other forensic evidence. A cover letter from the FBI dated September 23rd. Stating, let's see, our records reflect additional materials from Kirsten Knapp, questioned documents unit, Sarah Nedley, questioned document unit, and Brittany Swisher, evidence management unit, will be produced in supplemental discovery production as ongoing examination are completed. We request that this material be provided as soon as it is available. I hope the foregoing will be helpful in moving things along. Please let me know if you need anything from us. Michael Burt. Exhibits. So this is just the letter from Forensics Bioinformatics, just saying that they need time. Once they get all of the reports and evidence, they're going to need at least 6 months to get through it. So let's see. Dear Mr. Burt, I'm writing in response to your inquiry about our availability to assist with a review of the forensics DNA testing performed in state versus Tyler Robinson. When was this dated? March 27th. Okay. I have separately provided you a list of materials that they're requesting. Following receipt of all necessary materials, we typically request 2 or 3 weeks to conduct an initial review and to have discussion with attorneys such as yourself about our findings. I understand that a larger than usual number of samples were tested in Mr. Robinson's case by at least 2 different laboratories. And that much of the testing has involved the use of probabilistic genotyping to assist with the interpretation of results that are not suitable for conventional analyses. In circumstances like these, 3 to 4 weeks are likely to be necessary for an initial review. Because it's difficult to predict what, if any, issues will be identified during the initial review, during an initial review is completed, it is not possible to guarantee that that work will be completed in only 3 to 4 weeks. For instance, given the potential complexity of the issues in Mr. Robinson's case, an additional 2 weeks might be needed to complete a formal written report. Our reviews sometimes identify concerns regarding the reliability of a lab's method as it was applied in any given investigation. This can merit, more requests and extra time. Negotiating the terms associated with the disclosure of such data has unfortunately occasionally taken weeks or months. Review and analysis of such voluminous materials can take several weeks once it's received. If these additional efforts are determined to be necessary in your case, it could take another month or for our work to be concluded beyond any delays associated with the disclosure of laboratory documentation. Please let us know. Addendum. So this is okay, she's just declaring her qualifications. And that's it. So now you guys can say you heard this and saw it all directly from the filing. So you can know what you're talking about and know what other people are talking about, and then you can call them out on their BS. I love doing that. Don't you? Quenby. In the case against Amanda Knox in Italy, fingerprints of Amanda on the kitchen knife were held against her. This is same type of situation, and the Italian judge was involved in satanic stuff. Yeah, so many things can go wrong, and that's why we need chain of custody. They need all of that. It's a public hearing. We need to know that it's being done correctly. Let's see if there was anything else I wanted to get to on my notes here on this. The autopsy evidence. Oh yeah, we already said. So you guys missed the first part of it, but the autopsy evidence, they sent over a report. However, they didn't send over any pictures until March 18th. They sent over the report. What did I say? What was that? September 16th of 2025, they sent the report over, and photographs taken from September 10th, they weren't received until March 18th. So they delayed in getting that over to them, which is concerning to me. That's really concerning that they're withholding these crucial parts, and they are the experts who are supposed to know how to operate a case. And Blake Neff and Andrew Kolvet should watch this, or they should go through and read it themselves. So, yeah. The bullet fragments, if the prosecution's going to use them, then they have to be prepared and open to the defense using them, and for all of us to use them to point to truth, which Andrew Kolvet claims to want and Blake Neff claims to want, as long as it doesn't step on their assertion that Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman shooter and nothing else to see here. Yeah, you would think they'd follow the law. This is why Cash said the feds are letting Utah handle the case. It's open. Yep, sure is. And I think the FBI is still the federal FBI is still, they still have their hands in the mix. They're just doing it in the background. So that if anything goes wrong, then Utah can take the fall for that. Excuse me 1 second. I am going to share this screen with you because I want to get to the whole Joe Kent thing. Have you guys been hearing a lot about Joe Kent and like the accusations of him doing being a part of a PSYOP and all of that? because that's going around big ever since he, stepped away and said he doesn't support, that he has questions regarding the Tyler Robinson case and Charlie Kirk case and Iran, obviously. So let's take a listen to what they're saying here. I think this is important. I heard Kent, let's see. Let me put this up here. Wait, I need to change my layout. I'm not crazy about this. I heard Kent is being paid by Russia with lots of rubles. Well, he talks about who's paying him and the accusations about that. Okay. Going to play.
And offered your resignation letter. There are a lot of people, I think, when you popped up and offered your resignation letter, there are a lot of people who've watched the intelligence community for years, people who've been former, members of the military, who've said this is a psyop because suddenly when someone comes riding in on a white horse pops up out of nowhere with a resignation letter to support your position, people sort of rally around this guy. Joe is now the savior.
Well, let's point out this is your second time on Redacted, so you're not out of nowhere. So.
No, I'm saying, but suddenly we get to hear from Joe in protest of the Iranian war, and for a lot of people that was like, oh, this is the salve to the MAGA problem right now. Like, we do not want boots on the ground. Joe is the guy. How do you respond to the PSYOP piece of this?
I think people should stay skeptical. I appreciate that, actually. I mean, we're in an era of deception, unfortunately. So I get it. I think if people observe me and they've known me for a couple of years now, they'll see that that's just simply not the case. Took a fair amount of risk, I think, coming out the way I did. So yeah, that's kind of all I can say. I haven't read too many of the conspiracies, but I totally understand the skepticism. I think it's healthy and good.
I mean, if I were going to run an extension of the neocon movement, I probably would do something like this. You have a very impressive resume.
Serve your country.
Yes, you are well spoken. Clayton gets a little jealous, but you're a handsome dude. You can take to the campaign trail. I'm sorry, honey.
He is pretty cute.
And so I'm sure we have seen people of that ilk put into this role for a specific purpose. So you can't blame people for seeing it this way, right?
Not at all. No. I mean, I think people questioning everything is good. Please do. I dig into people's finances too. I mean, that's a big thing. I ran for office twice before unsuccessfully. I think if people look at, where I got my funding for those two runs, they'll kind of see that I was supported by mostly small dollar donors. I think almost all small dollar donors. So yeah, I think the skepticism I think is good though. No pushback on skepticism.
But do you have continued political aspirations? Will you run again?
No, I mean, I've ran for Congress unsuccessfully twice. I hate asking people for money, my least favorite thing in the world. If I felt called to do it, I guess, I just don't know. It would have to be something, I guess not, because I moved states again, so I don't think I'd run for the House or the Senate. I think the best service I can do right now is stay focused on this issue because I can provide a lot of insight and clarity. And I do think there's an ever-growing movement of folks on the left and on the right. You have a lot of them on your show who are anti-war, who want foreign influence out of our government, who want to get the deep state under control. I can support presidents in that role. I think we need people that understand how the IC works, that can go in day one of the government and actually, force the people's will on the IC, on the military-industrial complex. That's how I'd prefer to serve. Running for office, I'm glad I did it, but it is not a fun experience. I would much rather fight kind of in the national security realm.
Okay, but I'm going to call you back if I see your name in one of those APAC trucker Congress type things. Then we're going to revisit this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. When I ran for Congress, people can look it up. I had folks donate in AIPAC's name. So I think I had a couple thousand from something that was AIPAC affiliated. And I'm not like super anti-Israel either. Like I'm anti-Israel directing our foreign policy. So I talk to Republican Jewish groups, those types of things. But yeah, seeing how AIPAC gets their hooks into people, I would definitely resist all that if I ever did end up running again.
So I want to bring, I mentioned Whitney Webb, friend of the show, Whitney Webb, one of the best investigative journalists, I think, in the world. She was on Jimmy Dore's show, I think, the other day. She said she wasn't really prepared for the question about Joe Kent. And so she came out today and clarified what she said. And to be clear, I don't think she said that she, in that interview.
No, she said, you have to be skeptical. We don't know what the conflicts are. And this is a playbook that would be clever for an extension of the neocons, and sort of the way I asked the question.
So she responded today and kind of put this out here, and I want to take it. She says, I got a lot of shit for saying why I don't trust the Joe Kent trajectory. And why I was obviously put on the spot about it could have been more articulate. I think the points I brought up are very reasonable. If the counterterror spook resigns to amplify rhetoric, even if it's mostly accurate, and then the current administration defines as indicative of domestic terrorism, and that spook was previously also funded by Peter Thiel, the co-founder and chairman of the intelligence contractor working to establish domestic terror pre-crime in the United States, I think it's fair to be skeptical of him. Of course, the Peter Thiel Palantir concerns, Joe, are at the heart of this, right? That we need to separate ourselves from what's going on with Iran, but now we need the technate in the United States, part of this greater North American project that Pete Hegseth today announced, which I couldn't believe he announced that. So we're going to take control of North America, essentially. We need this massive surveillance state, control through central bank digital currencies, a digital ID, and that maybe perhaps Joe Kent is at the heart of this Peter Thiel technate Palantir surveillance state. What do you say about the Palantir Peter Thiel connection?
So when I ran for Congress, I think Peter Thiel donated to my campaign in 2022, but it was a direct donation to my campaign. So it couldn't have been more than, I think, just shy of $6,000. And he didn't donate to me again when I ran the second time. And then I didn't get any Peter Thiel super PAC money. So like Peter Thiel funding me, people can look that up, obviously check everything I'm saying. The money's just not there unless you're talking about something that was less than $6,000 4 years ago. But again, I appreciate the skepticism. I think that's good, and I think that's healthy. But yeah, I don't really have much relationship with Peter Thiel. Being in the government for as long as I have been, I've used Palantir for quite some time. And Palantir is coming up with like some impressive AI stuff. Now, I don't think it should be used here on American citizens. And I think we have to be wary in times of conflict, in times of war. It's really easy for our civil liberties to be eroded. And with how fast the technology moves nowadays, we should be on guard and we should be aware of that. And we should fight that with everything that we can.
So did you fight? I just want to follow up on that. Okay. So that's very important. And as Whitney Webb continued in her piece, she said Trump.
Yeah, I agree. He seems straightforward, relaxed. He doesn't seem tense, like he's trying to hide something. He doesn't seem nervous. After this, I'll go over some of the stuff that Mitch had said about Joe's interview with Tucker Carlson and what he got from it and some of the takeaways.
Previously considered making a pre-crime program using AI to flag the social media accounts of Americans who displayed warning signs of violence or mental illness. Its main advocate was Jared Kushner. So within the administration, you were in the administration, was there pushback against this Palantir surveillance of the United States from internally, or was it pretty quiet?
A lot of pushback internally.
There was
a lot of pushback. There's a lot of advocates for civil liberties, and I think there was some pretty healthy debates going on about that. I don't think that concept is being advanced to my knowledge. Now, again, wars and the way things are accelerating, but there was definitely folks who I think in the administration would support something like that. Yeah. So again, this is where I think we need people to pay attention. So I appreciate Whitney Webb's scrutiny and calling attention to it.
Something that Israeli leaders have said many times is that
I like that he didn't get defensive, that he's like, yeah, I get it. I mean, anyone should get it. Why we are so mistrusting of people, especially when you're ex-CIA or you're in a position that he is in and you're all of a sudden out like Bongino. Alex Jones is being a weirdo. Like now he's completely on the other side. And I definitely believe that's a psyop. That's to create disruption and confusion, I believe.
Freedom of speech clause in our Constitution is a problem inside America. That, unrestricted social media is a problem. They are the only ally who has dared to tell us how to live. Can you imagine? Even Zelensky and all of his idiotic hubris would not dare to try to shut down opposition to supporting Ukraine. And then on cue, we see President Trump releasing expanding definitions of domestic terrorism, which there really cannot be a domestic terrorist because that means anyone who speaks against the government can. But the Trump administration uses that term a lot, and it gives me a lot of heartache because we are supposed to be completely free to criticize the government. And so you're saying there was pushback at surveillance, but that term at all, is that something that is being codified in intelligence against Americans?
The term domestic terrorist?
Yeah.
Domestic terrorism?
I mean, it's in press releases. It's everywhere. We're not really supposed to have that. That's not really a thing.
Right. I think it, as far as I know, that term pre-exists even President Trump. And again, I agree with the skepticism of it. And I think because of the violence coming from Antifa, et cetera, there was a desire by this administration to tackle that head on. But anytime you start using the tools of the intelligence community against domestic targets, you run into some major issues legally, rightfully so. So again, I think this is something where we need a lot of people to be engaged and to take notice and to check what the government's doing and not trust the government.
Well, don't you hate when people say, I told you so? Yeah, that's me, actually, because I did tell you.
What's he talking about?
But I told you that gold and silver were going to...
the gold and silver of it all. Okay, do you trust Joe Kent? Okay, 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 undecided. 1 equals yes. 2 equals no. 3 undecided. There. Yeah, so I mean, I like that he did not get defensive. I like that a lot. So Mitch I have some notes here because Mitch and I had discussed this very topic of Joe Kent. So Mitch wasn't particularly thrilled with the interview with Tucker Carlson. So let me tell you, let me make sure I got to everything that I needed to get here through. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Let me just post these notes here so I can see them all in one spot. They're a little bit long, so I'll try to scan. Okay. So Mitch was saying that, paraphrasing Joe Kent when he talked to Tucker Carlson, I think I played a clip of that when he was with Tucker, I believe. But he said that Joe explained the PSYOP, and it's a tactic of government that when everyone knows that there should be evidence and there's not evidence, and they create a distraction so that you're just confused about the information and you don't know what to believe or who to believe. And so what Joe said essentially is like, when you don't do that, then that brings out all the crazy conspiracies. And so it just tries to hide the fact that the government's trying to hide things, and then it makes conspiracy theorists and all the crazies come out of the woodwork. So that's what Joe was saying. And so Mitch felt like that it was a little bit of an attack on him and on Candace, possibly calling them crazies. Now, I took it a different way. Do you guys remember that clip? I took it a different way, and that he was more talking to the government and talking to the FBI and talking to TPUSA. Like, look, these conspiracy theories are something you created by doing what you do and creating this PSYOP so that it confuses everybody and makes the crazies come out. So that's how I took it. How did you guys take that? Do you remember that comment? Jay, he's lost credibility with you. How come? Mitch thinks everyone attacks him. Well, I think everybody has attacked him, to be fair. But he, wait, I want to make sure I didn't miss one here. Mitch doesn't trust him, then I'm for sure a 1. So I think it made him more leery of Joe Kent and really wanting to pay attention more, because what he said was, he was on Joe Kent's side, and he was, thinking that he was a real patriot. And he's like, but he was saying, but nobody's perfect, granted, we can all do our thing. But what he's saying is that to him, it revealed that the government's contempt and the indoctrination by government officials and law enforcement officials, and those, that they're the only ones who have truth and hold truth. I think Blake Neff and Andrew Kolvet and Erica Kirk are right in a line with all of them. They're the only ones with the truth right now. Alex seems to muddy waters and go after wild goose chases to go against people like, yes, he does. And I think that's why he's doing it. I don't think, yeah. He's gone. Anyway. Okay, so let's see. I'm looking through like what I already told you guys. So the obligation is to find the truth, and that's owed to the American public. So he said, so Mitch was like, this might be obscure in a nuance, but the foundation of American values is to find the truth. Who's responsible? Who did it? Why? All of that. So he felt like it was a veiled hint that Erica Kirk is doing the PSYOP with regard to where she was on September 8th. So, so he's saying Joe depicted Erica, who is religiously looking for fame and being photographed daily, seemingly, has claimed the obvious evidence of her phone does not exist, just as Joe stated that the government PSYOPs do. So she sent this photo, right? And all it did was create confusion, and it muddied the waters. It didn't give us any answers, but created just more questions, which is the whole PSYOP. So he thinks she's intentionally doing the PSYOP, which I believe I've believed all along too. Anyways, but he said he's like, I might be wrong, but that's kind of what I saw. I read it a different way. But so if we're thinking about Erica Kirk in September, that because of the SAM flight was independently confirmed, and the report from the base doing a bomb threat, that was confirmed, and Erica's connection to the fort, it's been all independently confirmed, and that she contracts with them. So now that we know that they have contracts with them, her mom does, that she's in TPUSA leadership, that she's sort of been there all along, like, why wouldn't have Erica been at that base knowing that there was going to be a high level official there? Like, if her mom couldn't be there because she was ill and in the hospital or that care place, wherever she was, where they do contracting, why wouldn't Erica have been there to step in for her mom, like she has done many times before? Like we saw her in that commercial, like for the MP, the one where she was talking to the CIA people. You guys know that. So do you believe that she wouldn't seek to be there in a heartbeat for those high public officials to meet them and talk to them? She would, in a heartbeat. So anyways, so he said, of course, Trump's director would be sent with instructions to make contact. Erica could be a point of contact. Laura Fronsvie, she couldn't be there, would ask Erica to be there. And then Erica Kirk would bring security. So anyways, those are just the thoughts that he had regarding all of that and Joe Kent. So he was a little bit leery of Joe Kent. Again, I read it a different way. Let's see what you guys say. It sounded like Mitch describing things he has done in other situations. I don't trust Mitch Spidey sense, not arguing that for age, just him. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. Candace is on at 6:15 Eastern. Okay. Thank you, Maggie. Thanks. Keep focusing. I've never heard from Mitch Snow. I'm interested in his case. Oh, he didn't email you back? Okay. So I was going to tell you, what other things did I have to tell you? The bullet fragments we did. Okay, yeah, I wanted to finish playing this bullet fragments from this podcast today that they did on the Charlie Kirk show. And also to let you know a little bit of what's going on for me this week and what you can expect. So the next 2 weeks are going to be slower. I'm not going to be on as much. My husband has surgery tomorrow on his foot. So he's having a foot surgery. So I'm not sure when he'll have to be picked up and what kind of care he'll need or you know, if I can get him all settled and stuff like that. And then next week, I have surgery on my sinuses. You know how I'm complaining about my sinuses just running all the time and it just bugs me? Well, I'm finally going to have a surgery to hopefully get that taken care of to where they'll go in there and create bigger passageways so that air can get there and I don't have to be plugged up all the time and runny nose all the time. So I am so excited for that. So I have that next week. So the next two weeks are going to be sparse. However, on Thursday, I am scheduled with Brandy from Brandy and Billy's show. If you guys aren't familiar with them, they have a podcast on YouTube. They've done some videos. In fact, they talk to family members of Tyler Robinson who, you know, they're the ones who said they spoke to them directly and said about 2% about what we hear about Tyler Robinson is true from the media and from sources. And that the family members that they spoke to don't believe that he was capable of doing what he's accused of. That he didn't confess or turn himself in the way that they're saying, which is, of course, is what Candace has been saying all along too. And her sources say the same thing. So yeah, they live over in Utah. And so they've been at the hearings. They were at the last hearing where I met Brandy. So she'll be on Thursday with us, which I'm excited. And she's got some interesting and exciting news and stuff to tell you guys. So we can look forward to welcoming her. And let's see. Agree. Let's see. What's this? They really do need to stop calling it the Charlie Kirk show. It is not by a long shot. And what was it? I was watching, I should make a note of everything I see because I know I'll never remember it. But I was watching where actually they were claiming that what's his name? Tyler Boyer came out from the get-go saying that they weren't going to stick with Charlie's agenda, that they were full on Israel. I mean, it's obvious, but they were saying somewhere that he talked about it and just was out in the open about it. Call it turning 180 USA. I like that. I was going to mail you stuff on Mitch. I watched your interview with him, thought you did a great job, but I had medical issues, so didn't mail. Will do when I can. Oh, awesome. Yes, do. Send it on over. That's awesome. Yeah, the 180 show. That's really good. I love it. Most people don't care about or look at the crap going on around them. And when someone does, they are written off as crazy because no one wants to look at the facts and evidence. Lisa did this. on the DD Got podcast. I'll have to look at those podcasts. There's so many podcasts. There's so much information out there. How do you guys choose your favorites and how do you split your time? I mean, literally, there's so much to watch. You could spend every day, all day, and still not even get through it. I love Brandy and Billy. Looking forward to seeing you on Brandy. Yeah, I'm excited to have her on. She's sweet. Let's see. I would like to know more about what Mitch saw at the fort and the hotel. Yeah, me too. And I think there are more. I think there is more photographic evidence. I think there is. So it's just a matter of time before that's made clear. Okay, let's look at this. And I've been watching Barron. I've not watched a lot of Coach Colin. I catch it. I turn it on while I'm working and doing my own research and putting stuff together. So I listen to that a bit, but let's see, the Common Sense Show. I look at that one. What else? Okay. Love your suggestion. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's see what else these jokers have to say here. Because, okay.
Cool. I want to tell you guys about Strong Cell, the good folks at Strong Cell. So, you know what's hilarious? We've been making a joke, a running gag about Blake's hair growing back from Strong Cell. Turns out the collagen in it does encourage hair growth.
Okay.
I don't think
I found this out yesterday.
All jokes aside, I don't think it's
Blake
I think your beard looks more
do that
robust as a
motion.
result. Money back.
No connection.
Okay, we're going here. Blah, blah.
You can see how much.
Okay, here we go.
And again, this was not new news. There was a court filing, actually, I think by the media that confirmed the fragmentation of the bullet and the ATF report a couple of weeks back, but somehow this became the headline. The defense also referenced, so they use this to say, hey, we're going to try and delay this trial even more, which in my opinion would be unfortunate because I think the country, there's a void that's filled. The legal system does not move at the speed of social media, and we see this causing problems all the time. But it's interesting. In this same document, they say the defense also referenced the massive size of evidence amassed by 28 law enforcement agencies in the case. According to the motion, the discovery in the case includes 20,000 files, 61,500 pages of documents and images, and over 700 hours of video. Not to mention, we also find out that the parents and the trans-identifying boyfriend, Lance Twiggs, are going to be testifying on behalf of the prosecution. And yet, this is what becomes the headline. What do you make of all of that, Justin, when you kind of take it all in together?
Well, it seems obvious that there are people who will latch onto the piece of evidence that they think can be most easily used to confuse people. Like I was getting at earlier, this is a situation where no matter what they said about the bullet in particular, there would be a way for them to spin it to either prove or disprove what they think happened. So unfortunately, all the other evidence, the videos and what have you, none of that has been viewable by the public. And I think once that does become viewable, it will answer a lot of these questions and, ideally get everybody on the same page. But for the time being, most of the theories on the other side of the table revolve around the idea that it could not have been Tyler Robinson because there's no way that a 30-06 could have caused the damage that it caused without causing more damage. And so,
a pause right there, because a lot of this has, and I hate going into it on this, but like at some point we have to. Charlie was
we shouldn't let logic get in the way, you guys.
my friend, it was Blake's friend. He sat in this chair for years, and it's hard to even talk about this because it is graphic in nature. But, a lot of this conspiracy stuff goes around no exit wound. Well, there's different types of bullets, and I'm getting educated on this. And when you see fragmentation like this, what does that tell you about the nature of the round itself? What kind of, there's hollow point, there's full metal jacket. Does it tell you something about the type of round and why there wouldn't be an exit wound?
Yeah, it tells me that somebody wanted Charlie Kirk dead. I mean, that's really the long and the short of it. If you're going to assassinate somebody, you would most assuredly use some sort of a hollow point projectile or some other type of projectile that's designed to break into pieces, because that's what causes the most terminal damage on the target. You would not want to use something like a full metal jacket bullet where it would pass all the way through the target and leave a
Oh, okay, yes, okay. If Lance testifies for the prosecution, it makes me believe he was a Fed from the beginning. Yes, I agree, because he dropped off the face of the earth. Then he had federal protection, and then now like he's somewhere else again. That points to that he is working for them and he was an op. To me, that's what that shows too. I agree with you. How much did they pay Justin to testify that ballistics is pseudoscience? Yes. He's one of the ones the attorney we're talking about in the after the last hearing. In the last hearing where they said these people are getting paid and they're not disclosing it. I wondered that too. Who's this guy blinking so much? Gary has lost so much credibility that they have to go with a different expert. Yes, he has. They've got a new fresh blood here, and they'll milk this one and then move on to the next one too.
A relatively small entry and possibly small exit wound. So this is exactly what I would expect. I mean, like you hate to say it, but if you were in a position to politically assassinate somebody, that's exactly the round that you would choose. So it tells me that this is somebody who thought about it a little bit and decided that they wanted somebody dead. It's consistent with somebody that knows enough about firearms to understand that you're using a hollow point round for things like hunting and self-defense, specifically for that reason, because they expand, they unfold, they break into pieces, and it generally leave no exit wound, because in those cases, the idea is to prevent hitting somebody that's, behind the person that you're trying to defend yourself from, or causing it to pass all the way through an animal and perhaps endanger somebody behind it, or just at worst, passing through and not causing enough damage to, either eliminate the threat in the case of a self-defense scenario, or in the case of hunting, to cause the animal to die quickly and humanely. So this is 100% consistent with what I would have expected to hear.
What I've gathered, is that apparently in 40% of cases involving high velocity rounds, they're unable to match a bullet to a weapon because of this fragmentation that happens. Apparently, it's very common. Almost half of the cases you can't match it because the bullet is so badly damaged.
Which I want to really dive into that, because we're still able to, make conclusions in cases where they can't make that match, and that's what we really should emphasize. The real news of the past few days from these filings from the defense is they're reacting to evidence that the prosecution is planning to present, including that preliminary hearing that they want pushed back by 6 months because they're trying to drag this case out as long as possible. At the preliminary hearing, it is reported that the prosecution plans to call Tyler Robinson's parents and Tyler Robinson's furry boyfriend to the stand. So we've seen over and over, it just gets wildly alleged on social media that actually his parents didn't turn him in. Actually, his parents they're not cooperating with police. They've just lied about these things, when in reality, we know from endless documentation, they were involved in turning him in. And now it appears that
What endless documentation, Blake? What paperwork, what reports have you seen that the defense hasn't seen, that haven't been filed?
they're ready to testify in the case.
Right.
And that is how we're able to reach conclusions about this case without a bullet match.
You can't say the casings match, the DNA's match, the markings on the bullet casings match.
The text messages match.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other...
His location matches.
Yeah.
Did they do handwriting analysis for those bullets? Does that match, Blake?
Justin, final 30 seconds to you. What do you want people to take away from what we believe is a misleading headline from the Daily Mail?
Yeah, I want people to take away the fact that, again, ballistic science is very inexact at best. And you're dealing with a lot of people on the internet who have no knowledge of it whatsoever. And so it's very easy to, even in court cases, it's very easy to confuse a jury. They discussed ammunition in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and a lot of the information that they presented was false on both sides, actually. So this is not an exact science. This is not something that you can draw 100% conclusions about. This is but one piece of evidence among many. And I wish people would just take a breath and relax.
Justin, thank you for joining us. Phoenix Ammunition, check them out. We'll be right back.
All this evidence that the defense hasn't received yet, that they're asking for and they haven't even seen. But The prosecution, the state, the FBI has turned over all of the mountains of evidence to Blake and Andrew to dissect and go through so that they can tell us we don't need a court hearing. It's just the fact that all along they've been saying, let's get to the truth. We're here for the truth. Let's let this play out. And then they get on as soon as something looks like it's not going to happen for them. Then they do that 180, TPUSA 180, turning point 180 USA, whatever you guys call that. Yes. All of a sudden, it's a different tune. God forbid. Yeah. I think they are banking on Lance's testimony. Yeah. This is the first I've heard of it. And the parents. Yeah, I know that Brandy, they can't disclose, their source. I'd really like to know more. God forbid we use knowledge. TP Israel. Oh my gosh. I'm muted? No, I'm not. I'm not muted. You can't hear me? I'll bet if the ATF said the bullet did match TPUSA would be screaming about it. Yes, they absolutely 100% would. Okay, good. I'm fine. You're good. You're good. You never know. You never know with me. What are the odds of Tyler surviving the trial? So what was scary to me when I read through that filing, because they were talking about this preliminary hearing being necessary for his constitutional rights, that if he should even be held. And the thought of him possibly not being held, that's kind of scary, because anything can happen out there. We've seen it. We have seen it. Okay, let's see. Since we have time, we can go over some of Candace's show yesterday. What were your guys' favorite parts of yesterday's show? I really enjoyed it. Let's see. Oh, the 33. Let's see. Let me pull this up. Oh, let's see what her thing is first. Did you guys, if the gun doesn't fit, you must have quit. I knew she was going to say that. How did I even know that? Hold on. Oh, I got to share this with you. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you guys too. Last week when we left stream and then popped into Candace's again, I hated doing that. I don't think I'll do that. I don't like it. It felt disjointed and it just didn't feel right. So, let's see. Yeah, she's coming on at 6:15 Eastern time. So we've got about 15 minutes. Can we guess who they'll use to kill Tyler? Angry Arabs, mental magtards, few with an actual furry. I think they would do a suicide. I think if he got out, they would definitely use the off himself brand. Or he fled somehow. But I think they would unalive him for sure. Keep focusing. It may fragment once hitting bone, but I don't buy that it broke into a bunch of tiny pieces. Should be a main chunk inside the pass-through. I just don't buy that it was a bullet at all. Yeah. How about an AI robot? The figure 3, the one that Melania walked in with. Yeah, I would say, because they tried to use the self-harm one before, they would try to use it again. Let's see what Candace... Let's see. Let me go. Had to stage. If the gun doesn't fit, you must acquit. The internet exploded because the ATF in the Tyler Robinson case cannot connect the gun to him. We wanted to make sure we took our time and read through the court filings, and we are going to take you through them today. We're ahead of the curve, guys. We are ahead of the curve. Because we did that, right? Did you guys like that? Did you like seeing for yourself? Remove her. I need to get my settings right because they're all messed up. Okay. I agree. I think they were trying to figure out how to make plastic look like a bullet piece. You know, if anyone's stalling, it's the prosecution. It's the FBI, because it's obvious. That's just completely obvious. Okay. Let's go back. I wanted to go see part of yesterday's show. That 33. Let me go.
Gentlemen, because after Joe Kent resigned as the director of counterterrorism,
what was your favorite part
this
yesterday?
Instant stream of Israel firsters who accused him of leaking to me. Right? Joe Kent immediately came under attack, and curiously, Andrew Kolvet retweeted someone who suggested that Joe Kent should be arrested for leaking classified documents. Whoa. Why is Andrew Kolvet upset with Joe Kent? Is he upset with Joe Kent?
Oh, he's upset with Joe Kent because Joe Kent might help the defense. And they're even more angrier at Candace now because she's volunteering to help the defense. And now I believe they'll probably come out and say, see, this is proof. They're both saying they'll testify for the defense. They're working together. They're going to use it. Yeah, she'll be on just shortly. Thank you. 33. And the maroon. Do you guys, so we haven't heard a lot about the French Connection for a while. So I've been wondering about that for a long time. And the French Connection looks like it could be a thing. It might be Mr. Macron and Mr. Macron. Mr. and Mr. Macron.
It would certainly appear that Turning Point wants to exact revenge because, you guessed it, Joe Kent told the truth about something, and
we can't have that.
Something made Erica Kirk, Charlie's wife, look very foolish. And on that note, you guys, I have got some unbelievably explosive news about that now infamous tarmac hug, the one that's been living inside of me since Charlie's death. Let's jump right into it. Welcome back to Candace.
I don't know what to make. Oh, you guys didn't even see that. Did I have that on? Did you hear the sound even? Oh, I'm failing. I am failing. Give me an F. Oh my gosh. I'm failing, you guys. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, you could hear her, but you couldn't see her. Fire me. I'm fired. I can't be. Oh my gosh. What a lame-o. Let me see if we can get to the 33. Where is he? What was your guys' favorite part of that one? The 33, the maroon. What else did she? Oh, the tarmac thing. That's what I was going to say. Okay. The tarmac hug. Do you guys think, how important do you think that is? And should we be digging into the security people? Should we be, like we have the background of Erica and some of the other people, should we be digging into that more? I've been researching how to investigate people, like how to look at their histories. I've not investigated people a lot. I've like industry and companies. I've done some of that, but not people necessarily to dig into like all their past, aside from like going to LinkedIn or their, social medias. Candace made history with all of that last night. She sure did. Okay. We source out other countries spying on us. It makes sense an assassination would be farmed out. And they have as many hands. So this is one of the things I was discussing with Mitch a bit too, is, there's the argument that if they wanted somebody assassinated, if they wanted Charlie assassinated, they'd hire a sniper, boom, he'd be gone. Like, they'd do it. They wouldn't have this many hands in the pot. They wouldn't have that many people involved. I beg to differ. They would because they want to be able to have it so confusing that you can't point. It's got to be such a mess that you can't untie it. You can't unravel it. And it's so confusing that you just settle on like the easiest explanation, like they want to do here. So it makes sense they would have a lot of people, a lot of different organizations, a lot of different possibilities, because that if you have one or two people, that's easy. You can find those. Well, you can't find everybody. And especially if one person, say like Tyler Robinson, was there to be a distraction, to fire a bullet, not the bullet, not what killed Charlie Kirk, but to do something to be a distraction. Just like the George whatever guy who said, I did it. They have enough people there distracting. And so you look over here at Tyler, you look at George. What's George's last name? And it's just a mess and you can't figure it out. Yes. The more confusing, the better. For sure. So I disagree with that logic that they would just have a sniper do it, because that's just too easy to figure out. Very well put. Okay, let's see. I want to remember what she said, what she played here of Joe.
Turn everything over to the Utah state authorities. Everything's going to trial. It's very, very sensitive. But there was still a lot for us to look into that I can't really get into. But there was still linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. And I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
no, I don't think you are.
Because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions. We know the pressure because of the text messages that have been made public, that Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors. And again, we know Charlie was advocating to President Trump against this war.
Thanks, Maggie.
With Iran. And we knew at the end of the 12-day war, at the end of Midnight Hammer, that the Israelis were going to come back and ask us to go back to war again.
Right.
So we have a lot of data points between Butler, the assassination attempts against President Trump, the breaches of his security, what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. So if you have, I just lost my thought. I was reading this. The fragments that they found, the first thing that popped into my head was exploding mic theory. I think that's the most solid theory. You have a bad storm here. If I disappear, that's what happened. Aw, okay. We had one. We had a good one last night. It was like lightning upon lightning on top of each other, like striking. It was weird. So if you have a bunch of people in the mix doing a different thing, then you can't point to what actually killed them. Keep us posted. Yeah. What kind of storm? Is it lightning and thunder and hail? Okay, let's see. I want to get to the other part that I liked here. Here we go. This is it. Jack Sobiak. Okay.
They were infuriated. You should see the comments under this. They couldn't stand this. You cannot say anything good about Joe Kent. Laura jumps in and says, why are you defending a known leaker who is undermining President Trump? There is now speculation that Joe Kent may have been leaking information to Candace Owens for the purpose of attacking Mrs. Erica Kirk. What are you doing? Okay, I can tell you right now that is completely untrue. Joe Kent.
Okay, so then yesterday, Laura, let me see if I can find the post. Laura was saying now somebody else was the leaker. I commented on it. So a lot of times I won't comment because it's not really, I don't want to fight with people online unless I have to. I'll fight if I have to. Oh, here's what I said. Let's see. I'll show you this. Here's one of the things. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is what I said to Blake and Andrew. Why are you trying the case in public against Tyler? Isn't it about investigation, proving a case, evidence, innocent until proven guilty by a jury of peers? You said you were open to all possibilities until it became clear that it may not have been Tyler Robinson. Oh, these guys, no response. They don't ever answer me. Anyways, where's the Laura Newmer? Oh, she says, why are so many conservatives influencers on Tyler Robinson's defense team? And I said, because brains. But yeah, who else was the leaker? Let me see. Like she had said. Oh, Jack Sobiak. Here we go. How come Real Candace attacks everyone at TPUSA except Jack? She constantly retweets him and he refuses to call her out for her nonstop harassment. Makes you wonder who gives Candace all the leaks about TPUSA. So she was just literally saying it's Joe. Now she's saying it's Jack. Goodness. You know, I feel like Candace, what we've all done, you know, we're pretty intense and pretty insistent on truth and investigations. And I think we've all been open to new information and not just being one thing. I mean, because Candace has thrown out a bunch of things and we're just like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But when somebody comes up with actually a new theory, I think we are pretty level-headed and logical, and we can go, let's think about that. Let's think about that a minute and analyze, and we all just keep coming back to the same thing because they don't have anything good. We heard Candace, no worries. Okay, did I do it again? Didn't I just? Okay, anyways, sorry. I doubt it was a coincidence that Charlie Kirk was placed outside at the center. No, I don't think that was a coincidence. And they have people in Utah. Get him tea. Larry always has to put her worthless 2 cents in. She does. Hi, Curves. I concur with you. Curves. Let's see. LL is angry that one of the Stooges broke from the script. We are so common sense. I feel like we are. And I feel like we're reasonable people. And they're not. It's not us. It's them. Anyway, they I don't know if you guys are, how many of you guys are on X, but it's been hard. It's been hard with they're hurting. I think they're hurting the cause. They're going after content creators. They're going after Candace because she's not doing it in the way that they want her to, and they think she's doing it intentionally. But it's hurting the cause, and it cannibalizes the cause. And it doesn't make sense to me. So then I have to stop myself from thinking conspiratorially and that they're paid off. They're paid. I think sometimes people are just crazy. And I think sometimes they just want to be mad and point the finger and they just don't trust anyone. But yeah. Lying about small stuff is hard. It's hard and it doesn't make sense. It's definitely hard to keep track of, but that's all they've been doing. And I think that's what Erica Kirk is trained at doing, is disinformation, misinformation, to keep everybody confused so that nobody knows the truth. She's a walking psyop. They must be losing at TPUSA. You know what scripture has been stuck in my mind all week? I'll get it for you guys. I'm going to pull it up first. I want to get this right. Okay, here it is. Okay. This has just been replaying in my head over and over. And I live by this anyway, but it especially with regard to thinking about the different podcasters and creators online, about Candace Owens, about, because it can be pretty intense. Candace can get really, pretty intense, and she's pointing the finger, and it can get kind of ugly, as it does, because when you're being lied to, you get angry, you want to point it out, it makes you infuriated, and I completely get that. But what I keep coming back to, and whenever I start to think, and I start to feel negatively, or I start to question, what I like to think of, and what has been coming up all week, literally since last week, and increasingly before we went live today, was the scripture Matthew 7:16. You will know them by their fruit. And it's a biblical teaching from Jesus, meaning a person's character and true intentions or spiritual authenticity is revealed by their actions, their behaviors, the results of their lives, rather than their words. And it serves as a warning to identify false prophets. And that's what we're doing here. We're looking at the fruits and the fruits of TPUSA. And as we can see with Blake Neff, I think that's what we could call him now, Blake Neff and Andrew Kolvet. We're seeing their true colors, because they've been acting innocent. Oh, poor us, and we just want the truth, and we want to get at the truth and all that. And now that it's a little disappointing for them, look at them and look at how they're behaving. Look at how they're speaking. Look at how they're going the opposite of what they've said. And that's something only time can ferret out. Only time can reveal those character flaws. Only time and can expose those lies. Let's see. We are so, okay, we got that already. Yeah, They must be losing. They are losing. Intense. She is. Well, she is next level. God forbid if she ever, I would not want to. I want her on my side. And I'm sticking with Candace. I'm sticking, she hasn't changed. There may be different theories and different thoughts, and it's an investigation, and that's where you go. You just go and you sniff it out. But she has not changed course in what she wants and what she presents. She doesn't behave one way and say one thing and behave another. Did TPUSA talk about sheriff's resignation? No, they didn't. No, I didn't see that they did. What time is it? Oh, okay. Let me make sure we don't miss Candace. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. She's going to start. And let me get out of the way. So just remember that as you finish out your week and as you go through all of this, you will know them by their fruit. I live by it. Been a fan of Candace for a long time. She's very impressive. She sure is. She is. And she's consistent. She's consistently Candace. Thank God. Did you guys watch her speech, the Catholic speech? I watched it. I'm not Catholic, but it was nice to hear her testimony.
All right, you guys, happy Tuesday indeed. I really did have the best day ever yesterday. I mean, foremost, the news broke about the Freemason hit squad in France. Then we wrap up the episode yesterday and the internet explodes because the ATF in the Tyler Robinson case cannot connect the gun to him. Oh, okay, interesting. What does it all mean? You have a bunch of people racing. Oh, could you imagine the PR cash they are spending right now? Racing to tell you this is a big nothing burger. Who cares if we can't connect the gun to the bullet fragment? Okay, we care. I care because we were right. And we wanted to make sure that we took the time to actually read through the court filings, and we're going to take you through them. And if I'm being honest, there is something that is buried in these filings that not even Tyler Robinson's defense team caught, and we did. And in my opinion, it is definitive proof that Tyler Robinson is a patsy. The feds are just putting this on him, and I do mean the FBI. From JFK to MLK, now to CJK. This is, in my opinion, an undeniable state killing. Welcome back to Candace. Allow me to be the first to say it. If the gun does not fit,
we must acquit.
Okay. Now, before we address these court filings and take you through them line by line so you are educated, you can go out into the world, you can say, you read through them yourself, it's only 28 pages, and then you can look at the people that are trying to manipulate you and to lie to you about what's in the filings. I at first want to transport you back to the beginning because some time has passed and the story that we were told has changed so many times that you actually have to go back to the beginning to fully comprehend how this case fell apart so quickly for Turning Point USA, for Erica Kirk, and what I think is fair to refer to as their federal accomplices, because that's what it looks like to me. Charlie Kirk was shot on September 10th, 12:23 p.m. In the afternoon, Mountain Time. Now, a mere, 4 minutes after Charlie's bloodied body was carried to the SUV, Terrell Farnsworth, the man who runs the audio-visual company that Turning Point employs, they've used them for over a decade for their big events, and he's never goes to these college events, but they were trying something different that day, he says. Like an assassination? I don't know. Anyways, Terrell Farnsworth raced down from his nearby grassy knoll where he was recording himself. And what does he do when he races down? He returns to the crime scene and violates it. More specifically, he grabs the very chair that Charlie Kirk had just been sitting in, the chair that Charlie was murdered in, and he takes it over back to the camera, and he stands on that chair, that bloody chair, and removes specifically the SD card from the camera that was behind Charlie's head. Okay. Now, later, Andrew Kolvet is going to explain that Terrell was acting heroically because he was afraid that students were going to steal stuff from the table. There were people that were grabbing hats, and Terrell thought, let me spring into action and rescue this SD card. Yeah, we know Andrew Kolvet's lying because Terrell did not take the expensive camera. If you were afraid about things being stolen that were of value, you wouldn't remove the SD card and then leave the expensive camera on the table. The SD card is $15, okay? The camera's pretty expensive. Terrell Farnsworth seemed to be moving with precision as if he were acting on some sort of instruction, am I right? But to what end, I wondered. Why that camera? Why specifically the one behind Charlie's head in particular? And because I was wondering, I decided on September 17th, exactly 1 week after Charlie's assassination, to reach out to him. I called him. And he was exceedingly nervous. He stammered through a great many nonsensible excuses. I did it to protect Erica, he said. I wanted to secure the footage for Erica so that she wouldn't have to see the footage of Charlie being shot in 4K. Okay, clocked you on another lie, because that was already a foregone conclusion. The entire world had just witnessed Charlie Kirk bleeding out. Okay, you can't save Erica from the internet already circulating these clips to the tune of billions of people who watched it worldwide. More crucially, if he was actually worried about Erica seeing the footage, common sense to me says that he would have grabbed the camera that was like, I don't know, a yardstick away from Charlie's face. Oh, yeah, that camera that we've circled right here, that would have grabbed the action. That would have been the real up close shot of Charlie bleeding out. So he lied. The camera from behind, making matters worse, once I actually saw the footage, it had no blood. We revealed that on this show, so now you can think through that. He was telling me he was trying to save Erica from seeing her husband die, but yet this was the most mild shot of all. There was not a drop of blood on Charlie's back as he went down. So what exactly was that Terrell was racing to hide? What they were hiding, and I am going to speculate this boldly now, having read through these files and thought through everything that has happened, they were hiding was the fact that the bullet did not go through, did not pierce through Charlie. I believe that that was supposed to remain a state secret. The public was never supposed to have that piece of information. I feel pretty certain about that because after being told that the 30-06 was fired from a rifle a mere 150 yards away into the most delicate human neck, the assumption, all of us made the assumption, actually, we never even asked the question. Our assumption was just that it had gone through, of course. And I believe that that is the true reason why they moved to pave over the scene so quickly, because that was supposed to be the narrative. We've got the gun. We're going to say it was 30-06. We're going to say it passed through. We collected the evidence. Now it's paved through. Nobody can look. It's gone. But something happened. There was a divine intervention. Terrell showed me the back footage 2 days later on September 19th because I kept pressing him. Why are you being so weird? Why are you acting so strange? Why are you giving me so many excuses? Why are you telling me you're scared to send the footage because Google might hack you? That's bizarre. Why are you telling me you don't know how to send footage? You are an audiovisual company. You should know how to send big files. And so he eventually said, hey, I'll FaceTime you. I'll just FaceTime you. I'm not going to send you anything, but I'll FaceTime you. And on September 19th, he did that. And gratefully, I moved to record that FaceTime call because his energy made me uncomfortable. And later that day, I informed the public on my show that the bullet didn't go through. I said the oddest thing. It's like there was no blood in the back of Charlie. That's so strange. And this public revelation caused a mass internal panic at Turning Point USA. Do you want to know how I know that it caused panic? Because the very next day on September 20th, Justin Strife was contacting my husband several times, asking him if I had recorded that FaceTime call with Terrell. It came across like an urgent matter. I was sitting in the living room. George came to me. He's like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but like Justin Strife is hitting me up. He's asking me if you recorded, what's he talking about? I said, what? Why does he care? Why is this urgent? Why are they following up with you? What's up? And he's like, I don't know. What? And then I explained to him what happened. And I said, honey, don't answer the question. I find the question in and of itself to be weird. Why do they care if I recorded and have the back footage? And guess what? I found out why. I found out. Do you want to know why?
Why?
They were feeling a bit of pressure. Who it was in particular that was placing pressure on Justin Strife and Frank Carney to determine whether or not I had recorded that back footage. The feds were. The FBI. The FBI was on the phone with Justin Strife, Frank Carney, and they were apparently speaking to the feds that day about whether or not I had recorded the footage. Now, why do you think this information was so important to the FBI? Why would the feds be concerned about whether or not I had the back footage? I'm screen recording a FaceTime call. They've got it in 4K. They're not protecting Erica. It's everywhere. Unbeknownst to me at that time, this was also the exact day of Charlie's private burial. And yet, this is what they were consumed with. Erica was highly concerned about the back footage as well. So much so that rather than attending exclusively to her husband's private funeral, okay, the higher priority for Erica on that day was to curate a response to the public regarding why the bullet had not gone through. I want to say that again, okay? Responding to my episode where I simply told the public the truth that there was no bullet that passed through was deemed a higher priority than Erica being fully emotionally present at her husband's funeral. Her and Andrew were discussing this. They peeled off to the side and they conferenced the surgeon on the day of Charlie's actual funeral. They conferenced and called Dr. Lee Trotter. This is the single biggest lie that Erica Kirk would later tell me. She would insist to my face, and I did not believe her for 1 second, and I politely pushed back, that Andrew went rogue that day, that the surgeon went rogue too. the two of them had a discussion that she did not authorize, discussion that she was not privy to. The surgeon violated HIPAA. Andrew violated her privacy. And after that discussion, Andrew went double rogue and he tweeted about the nature of this discussion that he could not have had with the surgeon without Erica's permission. Erica lied. Erica and Andrew colluded on how to message to the public about this little fact that was never meant to be known to us. Dr. Lee Trotter did not violate HIPAA. In fact, he could sue her for defamation, in my personal opinion. She was the one that was on the phone with Andrew, and they were asking the doctor what they could tell the public, and it was Erica Kirk that said that Charlie ate healthy, and she bet he had a neck like Superman.
Popeye.
Pretty obvious if we just pause and think about it. It was pretty girly and emotional. Man of steel. He just eats healthy. That's not how serious trauma surgeons communicate, okay? It's just not. But the crucial point of Andrew's tweet that people are forgetting, and why I'm taking you back through this as before we get into these filings, is that on that day, as they were freaking out, feds calling me, my husband, feds calling Turning Point USA, putting pressure on me and my husband, Erica and Andrew on the side, trying to figure out how to message. The crucial part is that then when they did deliver this information to the public, they declared that the coroner found the bullet, not a fragment, the bullet. On September 20th, after the autopsy and the death certificate were issued, they communicated to the public the bullet was found beneath Charlie's skin, okay? We can read that statement together. They want you to forget these things. Andrew tweeted, I want to address some of the discussion about the lack of an exit wound with Charlie. I'm usually not interested in delving into most of this kind of online chatter, and I apologize if this is somewhat graphic, but in this case, the fact that there wasn't an exit wound is probably another miracle, and I want people to know. I just spoke with the surgeon who worked on Charlie in the hospital. He said the bullet absolutely should have gone through, which is very, very normal for a high-powered, high-velocity round. I've seen wounds from this caliber many times, and they always just go through everything. This would have taken a moose or two down, an elk, etc. But it didn't go through. Charlie's body stopped it. I mentioned to his doctor that there were dozens of staff, students, and special guests standing directly behind Charlie on the other side of the tent, and he replied, quote, it was an absolute miracle that someone else didn't get killed. His bone was so healthy, and the density was so impressive that he's like the man of steel. It should have just gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. End quote. Andrew then concludes, in the end, the coroner did find the bullet just beneath the skin. Even in death, Charlie managed to save the lives of those around him. Remarkable. Miraculous. Foremost, why would a coroner be finding anything? A coroner is not even a health. They just say this person's dead. Park that aside. It's Andrew Kolvet. Let's assume they met the medical examiner.
It doesn't.
And again, the bullet was found beneath the skin, not a fragment. It was recovered, and that was similarly echoed to me in the days that followed. But 3 days beyond that, I had a long conversation with Andrew, and I was very grateful for it. On September 23rd, he provided me with even more details about that Man of Steel tweet, because I was going, it doesn't sound real, Andrew. And I took meticulous notes, and I would be willing to testify under oath regarding what I was told from Andrew Kolvet. He told me that the bullet traveled, and I'm going to show you this, so you, in case you're like me and you don't know about the vertebrae in the neck, that it traveled from C2, okay, think about the entry point, it's almost upward, down to C6, and then it moved downward into Charlie's thorax, where it was shattered. Okay. Another adjustment, okay? Another adjustment, because first they found the bullet beneath his skin. Now suddenly the bullet is fragmented in his thorax. And then we're going to get Brian Harpole, who's going to say, no, it fragmented in his stomach, thorax, whatever he says. These are very important and relevant changes that they are making because they're realizing that their story is not going to work. So why that change? Why did we go from, we got the bullet, the coroner got the bullet, to actually, you know what? It's ricocheting and it's shattered. I'll give you my best guess. because at some point the feds realized that their initial plan was completely ruined by the back footage, that they had to pivot. And at first they pivoted, but it was sloppy. They had 24 hours. Andrew tweeted that they found the bullet. But the reality is, as my source who's close to the Robinson family told me, that family heirloom gun takes special bullets. In fact, I was told that there was no way the prosecution was going to be able to connect the bullets to that gun. I think the feds then realized that. First, we got the bullet, then they quickly pivoted. There's no bullet. It's just a small fragment. Problem solved. Now we can have ATF say that it's inconclusive later down the line. There's another part of this that everyone is missing, and I want to stress it to you. They cannot even prove that the gun was fired. Say it again. They cannot even prove that the gun was fired. Why is the media not telling you this? Have you guys realized that there's a big piece missing from the evidence? Where is the basic GSR test? Okay. Testing to see if you fired a weapon. It's a test that like it puts some stuff on, then it turns your hands, purple or bluish purple under the light. GSR test. Did they conduct that 33 hours later to see if Tyler Robinson had fired a weapon? Right? They could have actually brought in a bomb dog for that. No, they didn't do that. You remember the bomb dogs went into the field where the weapon was found. I broke that story, and they didn't find the weapon. That is literally impossible. It's literally impossible. There's no one that will get up there and tell you anything different, that a trained bomb dog, if they are taken into a field where there's a gun that is sitting that was recently fired, they will find the dog. They will find the gun. But apparently the bomb dogs missed it. And the gun that was eventually found, which my sources say they are convinced that the feds planted it when they arrived, was not fired on September 10th. Okay? If it were, and they knew Tyler Robinson fired it, they would have taken the bomb dogs, had them smell the dog, they would have had them smell the weapon, find the weapon, smell the person, and tell you that is connected to him. The canines would have done that for them. They didn't do that. And the last thing I want to reiterate to you before we get into what these filings reveal is that there are a bunch of frauds right now that are telling you that they found Tyler Robinson's DNA on the gun. Okay? What they keep conveniently leaving out is that they found a total of 6 sets of prints on the gun. It is not shocking that Tyler Robinson's gun had Tyler Robinson's prints on it. That's not shocking. The question is, who took Robinson's gun and placed it into the field unfired? That's where we are at in this case. And so the big news yesterday was that the bullet, which has now been conveniently reduced to a fragment, happened very quickly over a couple of days, has come back, and the ATF has concluded that they can't connect to the gun. It's inconclusive. And now the prosecution wants the corrupt FBI to conduct their own analysis. And I'm going to tell you what is very wrong with that, because I think it's pretty clear that the feds are working with Turning Point USA, and all evidence points to the fact that the feds are dirty in this case. Like I said, I have spoken to SWAT, local police departments, sources close to the accused, UVU students, people that work at UVU. Everyone is saying the feds are a part of a broader conspiracy. And based on the evidence I am seeing and based on these filings, which I am about to show you, I believe that. So while the people who are racing to delude you about this case are making tons of claims about the recent filing, we're going to actually take you through it. Tyler Robinson's team in this filing, just what we're looking at is they are asking for an extension. And we are going to show you the extraordinarily valid reasons as to why. At first, just want to say off top of this, I think we can all readily dismiss the repeated lie that Tyler Robinson confessed to his crime, right? He's asking for a continuation. A man who confesses a crime and says, I did it, does not request a continuation so that he can gather evidence. If he was admittedly guilty and so overwhelmingly guilty that he turned himself in and said, I did it, he would not be trying to win the case, okay? And why are they requesting the continuation? They make it very clear because discovery is missing. Discovery in a case is when you accuse me of something and then I say, okay, I want to see your text messages from September 10th. I want to see your text messages from September 8th, and you have to give them to me, right? I'm the defense. You got to give those to me. They're saying that they can't prepare a defense until they receive all of the items that they have requested from the prosecution. They haven't delivered them to them, okay? Requesting a continuation is so beyond standard in proceedings. I have filed for them myself. I filed for them in the Brigitte case. It is so beyond standard that you should be offended to any person who is trying to make that scandalous or purport otherwise. So we're going to go through this filing together. It's essentially 28 pages plus a ton of exhibits. Let's look at this document, okay? And Sky, I'm going to pull it up on my page just so I don't have to squint and read, since I feel like my eyesight is getting worse and worse with every child. Okay, so we're starting up here with the introduction, and I've highlighted the portions that you can take a look to. We learned that Mr. Robinson seeks to continue the preliminary hearing, which is scheduled for May 2026, to a setting that allows him and his counsel to receive discovery that is necessary for preliminary hearing preparations. Okay. Then it is going to state that on March 12th, 2026, the counsel for the parties, they met and they conferred regarding discovery issues and the evidence the state intends to present at the preliminary hearing. Based upon the state's representations at this meeting, the state intends to present these discrete buckets of evidence through 3 identified law enforcement witnesses. So they're saying, we just met on the 12th, and they told us that they're going to, when we have this preliminary hearing, they're going to bring 3 witnesses to the stand. This is going to include conclusory forensic DNA and ballistics reports authored by the FBI and the ATF, phone and social media data, testimony by law enforcement officials about the crime scene and search locations, and testimony by Mr. Robinson's parents and roommate. Okay. Conclusory is the key word here. I'm going to explain to you why this is exceedingly problematic, that they are going to present conclusory evidence that they have not actually given beyond the conclusions to the defense. And to the point about Mr. Robinson's parents and roommates that are going to be, that they want to bring up, that means nothing. You can bring up whoever you want to the stand. And because Matt Robinson says, this is my gun that I gave to Tyler Robinson, it is common sense to me that they would put him on the stand and they say, do you recognize this gun? Yes, I recognize the gun. You can't lie about that. Is this your gun? Yes. You're going to contain your questions just to get him to identify that that's his son and that is his gun and that he gave his gun to his son. That's my guess. And they're going to try to scandalize that. Some people are saying he's testifying for the prosecution. No, he's not testifying for the prosecution. They are naming him as a witness, and he is going to be forced to answer questions under oath, likely, I would assume, about the gun. Okay. So then they go on and they say the state intends to offer a significant amount of hearsay identified in the Utah Rule of Evidence at a preliminary hearing. Namely, they're just going to get up there and they are going to tell you that they've made these conclusions, but we can't tell you how they got to these conclusions. That's what they're saying. The ATF, they're telling us that this is inconclusive and it's not attached to the gun, but we want to see how they arrived at that, because that could be very important for us. Okay, we can scroll down here, and this is where it is wild, and this reveals the prosecution strategy. I want you to go back into your mind when Erica got up and she did this news clip, and she was like, I would like this to be rushed. Like, I want the case to go by quickly. I want to, write for this to go. And we were like, what's that about? And I will also remind you that when I sat down with Erica, I explained to you that her lawyer told me that right now we don't have any evidence. The way that this works is that now the state's going to go out and they're going to find the evidence. And then once we have the evidence, they're going to give it to Tyler Robinson's team, who's going to be able to draft some sort of a response to the evidence. And then we have the preliminary hearing. Okay. So that is what they are going to say. They're going to tell you what Erica's team did, what the state did. In total, they're referring to Tyler Robinson's team, has received approximately 20,000 files, excluding digital electronic discovery, which was provided on a hard drive during that meeting on March 12th. So when they were conferring, then suddenly they gave them another drive. Okay. Now, initially they had files, which were 61,500 pages in total before that March 12th meeting. They had audio files that were 31 hours in total length. So they're going through all that. They were also given more than 5,000 video files containing more than 700 hours of video until March 12th when they conferred. And then they handed them this little drive. And guess how much was on that drive on March 12th? It amounts to approximately 12 terabytes of data and over 600,000 files. So they have less than 2 months to go. They've had all this time since September to deliver them all of this data for them to go through. And they waited until March 12th and they handed them a drive and they said, here are 600,000 files. See you in May. That is a strategy. Okay. That is a dump when you know they are not going to be able to go through everything and see what you have. You're giving them so much. And it is a strategy people do. When people are subpoenaed and they fight the subpoena, like, oh, I get your text messages for 2 years. Remember when Blake Lively requested
Blake Lively did it. Yep.
And I'm like, I don't want to give it. And then the judge says, no, you have to give it. They will then give them more than they even asked for. I'll give you every email, text, because somewhere buried in there is what you need, but you're not going to have the time to find that. You don't have the force behind you. This is going to take 800 paralegals working for 800 hours each in order for you to go through all of this. That is what this looks like to me. Why are you waiting until March 12th? This is a very bad strategy. I mean, I'm actually going to say it's an immoral strategy to dump this on them. Okay? 600,000 files after first giving them 20,000 files until March 12th. Stunning. On that bottom paragraph, which we have highlighted orange, it says, what is known at present is that Mr. Robinson has not received the forensic case files and the data necessary to investigate through the use of qualified experts, the scientific reports that the state intends to introduce at the preliminary hearing. Mr. Robinson has diligently requested the disclosure of forensic case files and the data underlying the laboratory reports in an effort to get these materials to the defense. And he's been doing that since September 30th, okay? So they've just been giving him conclusions, and they were like, how'd you get here? We have his text messages. Okay, can we see how you got those? Can we see the dates? Can we see the chain of custody? Can we see how you pulled it off? Who signed off on it? Nope. They're just giving them conclusions, and what they're saying is, we can't even determine if they're fake or they're real until you give us what we are asking for. We need to get in the weeds. We need to see effectively the metadata. Who pulled this information off the server? We want to see the chain of custody. How did this happen? How did this file get created? You can't just send us a PDF conclusion. That is what is in these documents. They are playing games. They're playing games. It's very obvious. We're going to keep going here.
Even though they have mountains of
during the
evidence.
hearing, which was held back in January, the counsel for the parties discussed the status of the lab files, and UCAO, that's the Utah County Attorney's Office, informed the defense that they too were awaiting the files. And we memorialized that for the state in our February 3rd letter that we still don't have these lab files. We're looking for, how they are saying they got the DNA. They're just telling us conclusions and we can't prod narratives, right? And so that's a problem. They're not being allowed to do that. And then if we scroll down to the bottom of page 6, it's telling us like, hey, there has not been a prior request to continue the preliminary hearing. And I'd like to remind you that back in December 11th, we raised this issue with you. When you set this date for the week of May 18th for the state, we said in response, this isn't going to work. We need to make sure we have the stuff that we need. And what did the court tell us? The court said, and they're quoting, I do not find there's any prejudice in setting a date for a preliminary hearing. It's not set in stone. It certainly can be moved. This is the judge. I recognize the parties have a lot of obligations, but I also want to recognize the importance of this case moving forward. And if nothing more, then this is just a goal for a preliminary hearing. If it needs to be changed, the court understands that. So the court already told Tyler Robinson's team, we just want to get something on the calendar. We understand it might need to be moved and it might not be practical. So they're like, hey, can you honor that now that we have the proof that this is not practical? You can't just drop 600,000 files on us on March 12th and tell us to be ready by May 18th. Does everybody agree with that? I think we all agree with that. We're all sane people. We agree with that. Okay. Now, if we scroll down, then they're going to kind of make more arguments and they're going to bring in some, some jurisprudence, meaning like past cases that demonstrate the points that they're making and why this is like totally par for the course. And they should just be like, yeah, of course you get a continuance. You got 600,000 documents, but you still have to do this. You have to point to cases and proof of why this is okay. And Skylar, I'm on page 11 now. And they write here, there are materials that are known to the police prosecution team that have not yet been provided to us. While it is anticipated that discovery in this case will be ongoing throughout the duration, the defense is seeking the materials that are known to be reasonably available to the prosecution, materials that are known to be in possession of law enforcement partners identified by the state. Both the UCAO and Mr. Robinson continue to wait a vast amount of information relevant to a review of the FBI's and the ATF's DNA analysis, including, but not limited to, validation studies, crucial electronic data files, the report, the case file for comparative bullet analysis, the bullet lead analysis that is still in progress at the FBI, and the case file and protocols for a comparative bullet analysis that's been conducted by the ATF. Okay, now, here is where it is going to be very interesting, okay? And I want to see, is this the page where we highlighted? Let me just go make sure I found this where they get into the ATF. Oh, actually, let's go to bottom of page 18. This is an example of how much they're just giving like absolute BS, and they're trying to run the clock essentially. Tells us that, for instance, on March 12th, that's when they had that meeting to confer, the state indicated that it intended to introduce the autopsy report into evidence without any supporting expert testimony. So that was going to be a part of what they were going to present on the stand if this went through in May. The autopsy report, which was completed on September 16th, 2025, was not given to the defense until November 13th, 2025. Gets worse. So a 2-month delay to give them something they already had done. The autopsy photographs, which were taken on September 10th, 2025, were not produced to the defense until March 18th, 2026. They just gave them the photographs. Why? Make that make sense outside of trying to run the clock down so somebody cannot get another expert to look at everything and prepare arguments. Why would you have something available to you on September 16th and not hand it to them until March 18th? There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that outside of you do not believe you can win this case honestly. This is legal maneuvering. You're hoping a judge is going to be corrupt, is going to hear the cry of this widow. Please, I just want the case to be fast, she said on Fox News. This is hard. I'm asking them to move along fast. The widow wants to put this chapter behind her. Judge, normally the public doesn't read through legal files, so they're not going to see the 600,000 documents that we just dropped on them. They're not going to see that, like, okay, we haven't even given them the autopsy report and stuff until, like, now it's March. The widow, she's grieving. She's asking, can't we at least do that for her? She doesn't have her husband. That is their manipulative strategy, and you can see it in these documents, okay? And then it says even more substantial discovery issues exist with respect to the DNA and the ballistics report that the state has indicated it intends to offer at the preliminary hearing without any supporting expert testimony. The summary, again, just summary, DNA reports produced by the FBI and the ATF indicate that both agencies recovered minute quantities of DNA on various items of evidence, which the reports opine consist of mixtures of up to 5 or more individuals. There's 5 individuals that are on this, and yet all I have is an analysis. A conclusion. Can I get more? Can I understand more about these 5 sets of prints that are on this? Who are these people? Do we know these people? No, they're not giving them anything. They're not giving them anything but the conclusion. And they're expecting them to be able to present this during the preliminary hearing. Now, this next portion regarding the firearm evidence is an absolute bomb. In fact, I might just pivot to break because I think we're running out of time. Pivot to break, Dom, and then when we get back, I'm going to explain this, why not even Tyler Robinson's defense caught what was in this paragraph. So we'll be right back after a quick break. All right, you guys, thanks to you last year.
What do you think it is? What paragraph was it? So far, we did a great job going through the filings, looking at the same things. Let's see. I always think that my pre-show aligns with Candace's a lot of times. And innocent people do not have to lie a gazillion times. They don't. Hi, Letters. Welcome back. I was just thinking about you and wondering if we were going to see you today. She can go as long as she wants. Don't stop now. Yeah. No, we have all the time. We have all the time. We'll give it to you. Anyway, we did a pretty good job going through those filings, and I am interested to see at what she's coming up with that it'll help us know what to look for next time, right? The prosecution is sleazy. So glad you shared the files ahead of the show. Worked out perfectly. Yeah, thank you. It did. It's not too redundant because she's going over it her way, right? But yeah, I loved that going through the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni trial, watching them do the same things, reading through the filings of there was really of those things was really helpful. So it got me trained the first 6 months of me being online. Trained me well.
With Kickoff today and get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price when you go to getkickoff.com/Candace
Thanks,
today.
Jay.
That's Kickoff,
Appreciate that.
KIKOFF without the C. Getkickoff.com/Candace.
Must sign up via
Give it to us.
kickoff.com/Candace to activate offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first year credit score impact of plus 86 points between August
Full
2024
time.
and August 2025 for Kickoff credit account users who started with a
Tampering
score
with
below
witness.
600, who paid on time,
FT.
and who had no
Frank
delinquencies or
Turk.
collections
Is that
added to their
Frank?
credit profile during the period. Late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary.
I also want to tell you guys about red light life because we are seeing a
Okay.
massive rise in
Frank, that's another thing I wanted to go over. Did you guys watch his UVU, the whole thing of his UVU talk? It was last week. If you didn't, let me know. If you did, let me know too, because I wanted to go over that too this week if we can get to it. He was kind of nasty. You saw a different side of Frank Turek during that.
protocols becoming up to 70 times more effective, and 96% of women.
Especially when that woman was talking about hearing the shot come from a different direction. He got kind of nasty. It was a different Frank. Again, like I said, you will know them by their fruit, and only time can reveal that. Only time. And disappointment. Disappointment is a revealer of true character. When people are in disappointment, you see what they're really made of.
And use code Candace25 and you'll get 25% off singles, or Candace30 and you'll get 30% off bundles. Again, that's myredlight.com before it sells out. Here is actually the craziest part of the filing that I don't think anybody noticed. Okay,
Tell us.
everybody's talking about the ATF, but the devil is always in the details. The feds are always in the details, okay? Now, I'm going to read this. Regarding the firearm evidence, the defense has been provided with an ATF summary. Again, just a summary report, which indicates that the ATF was unable to identify the bullet recovered at autopsy to the rifle allegedly tied to Mr. Robinson. Although the state has not indicated an intent to produce this report at the preliminary hearing, the defense may very well decide to offer the testimony of the ATF firearm analyst as exculpatory evidence. Okay, so they met, they conferred, and they're like, okay, we haven't even received, we got a summary that like this is not matching, but we want to see the whole report. We want to see how they got there, because the report will show us how they conducted this. We'll actually be able to see that bullet fragment. How big is, I don't know. We know nothing. And then Erica's team comes in, the state comes in, and they're like, it doesn't matter. We're not even going to bring up the ATF thing. So you have our word. So we're good. They're like, well, first of all, why aren't you bringing that up? And it's not about whether you're good. It's about whether we're good, because that's pretty exculpatory for us. If, the gun does not fit, you must acquit. This is the purpose of a preliminary hearing, is to get a judge to just unilaterally dismiss something as an option. So what's up with that? Why are you not giving it? They're like, oh, because we're going to do some other testing down the line. Here's where it gets crucial. Pay attention. Look alive, okay? It goes on and it says, in order to make this determination, it is necessary for the defense and its firearm expert to review the ATF case file and the protocols relating to this examination, which have not yet been provided. The state has also indicated that the FBI is in the process of conducting a second comparative bullet analysis, as well as a bullet lead analysis, that these analyses are not yet complete. Okay, pay attention, Tyler Robinson's defense team. I'm about to help you out in a big way. So they told you that, you conferred. They said, okay, don't worry, we got it. We got this. We're going to do a secondary thing with the feds. And like me, I'm nosy. I'm like, wait, what do you mean? the ATF is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. That's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. If they couldn't do it, what extra power does the FBI have to do it? If the firearm people can't do it, why is this going to the FBI? So I said, what is a comparative bullet lead analysis? What is that? I need to know things. I like to learn. And lo and behold, we find out that the CBLA, the compositional analysis, is a discontinued forensic technique that analyzed trace elements, copper, arsenic, in lead to link crime scene bullets to suspects. It was primarily used by the FBI from the 1980s until 2004, but it was then abandoned in 2005 due to flawed scientific, statistical, and interpretive validity.
Oh,
Wait, they discontinued this like 20 years ago, 21 years ago, because they said it was flawed? And sure enough, Skylar starts looking through and he's like, yeah, no, the innocents, the people have been freed because of how flawed this was. They literally put the wrong people in prison using this technology until it became so obvious that nobody would even stand trial and back it anymore. So they just got rid of this analysis. It's been gone for 20 years. Wake up, Tyler Robinson's defense team. I know it's a lot going on, 600,000 files. This is them telling you they're going to make this bullet fit no matter what. The feds will do it. If ATF isn't going to be corrupt, we'll be corrupt. And they've been corrupt since the beginning of this. Look at this news clip explaining further why and how this technique that they're now going to employ got discredited historically and is no longer in use. Here are the reasons why it got discredited. Take a listen to this local Atlanta news clip.
FBI agents swore by it in courtrooms across America for decades, a type of forensic science called bullet lead analysis.
This was used in thousands of cases and hundreds of trials, but the FBI stopped using it over flaws in the science. Now at least one man is free as another fights for his freedom.
Remember, we read that? The defense was saying we need to be able to point out flaws in your analyses. They said it a couple times.
National investigative reporter Chris Nakamoto looks into the tainted testimony.
It was definitely a shock to the whole community.
In 1991, 45-year-old Norma Jean Yates was found inside this home, shot to death 7 times. The house set on fire.
She deserved better than that.
Her death, a defining event in the life of her husband, Jimmy Yates, because 6 years later, a jury convicted him of her murder. It's his first sit-down interview after being released in 2021.
Did you kill your wife?
No. I have maintained it all these years.
Police found a bullet in his vehicle, which they said matched the lead in bullets at the crime scene. That science the jury trusted when it ultimately convicted Yates, no longer used by the FBI. When a weapon is missing or a bullet too damaged, the FBI claimed at the time their science could match bullets to ammunition through the lead alone. Our national investigative team found the FBI admitted to using this science in 2,500 cases, and it was introduced in hundreds of trials across America.
Blake Neff and Andrew Kolvet are shitting their pants right now.
But in 2005, the FBI pulled the plug on this practice. Their admission, neither scientists nor bullet manufacturers are able to definitively attest to the significance of an association made between bullets in the course of a bullet lead examination.
They discontinued this because not even the scientists or the bullet manufacturers would testify that that made any sense. Not even the scientists or the bullet manufacturer. We don't know how you're doing this. You're just saying that you have some special scientific technique that the scientists are saying is not so scientific, and the bullet manufacturer is saying, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. And so they just quietly stopped doing that in 2005. But guess what, guys? Cash's boys are going to dust that off, pull it back, because ATF probably said, a little too obvious and corrupt for us. Okay, best we can do, like, we're the feds, we're the Fed boys, love you, but can we give you an inconclusive? Can we just say inconclusive? It probably doesn't even match. Inconclusive is the best I can do as your homie. you guys are on your own if you're going to be that corrupt, despite this history of the strategy being corrupt. Because scientists, and you put a lot of people in jail wrongly. And the feds are like, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put somebody in jail wrongly. So that's what we're doing. We need to bring back the technique that's been discontinued for 20 years. Incredible. Bombshell. Should be on the cover of every mainstream news, reporting that the FBI is bringing back an already debunked technique so that they can give Erica the evidence she needs to connect this gun, which hasn't even been fired, to Tyler Robinson. Again, ignore the people that are telling you over and over again that his prints are on his gun. That's common sense, people. If somebody comes to my house and steals a gun, it's going to have me and George's prints on it and DNA on it because our prints carry oil and that's our DNA. It does not mean that we then took this gun and killed somebody. You got to connect the bullet. You got to connect the person. You got to conduct these tests to make sure they fired a weapon. They're doing none of that. All they're doing is spending an offensive amount of money on PR for people to convince you that this is an open and shut case. And it's not even open.
And influencers.
Even be open. Okay? I am just so stunned that they're doing this. I can't even believe how openly corrupt the feds are being. Please, guys, in your capacity, share this. Share that portion that they are bringing back. Make it viral, okay? The feds are so corrupt. Truly, I am like fed up, literally fed up. Federal Bureau of Investigation, we have had enough, okay? Now to finish some other things that I highlighted here, just so that you have this as we're on page 22. They're basically asserting their amendments, like in a capital case, the state cannot, consistent with federal due process, the Fourth and the Eighth Amendments and separation of powers and principles declare that hearsay reports, you're just going to sit people, this is a show trial. You're going to sit people and we can't prod their narratives because you haven't actually given us the evidence. You're giving us summarized reports. They want theater. They want to put theater on the stand, and they are saying, we want science. We want scientific discovery, which we have been asking for, and we have been consistent in asking for this, which is what he attaches in the exhibits, is how many times they have asked for this information, how many people they have been in touch with saying we need this information to go through. And they've done a very good job, by the way, I will say. This is a thorough case. Sometimes I read lawyers, and it's like, ooh, this is a really bad lawyer they have. This is a job well done, actually. This is a job well done. It's very descriptive. It tells us on the bottom of 25, at top of 25, that this is not our fault. We did not contribute to the delay resulting in the request. You can see through the pages, we have been diligently processing and reviewing all of this discovery that has been received in this case. We have made efforts from the outset to procure not only the reports from forensic testing, but also the underlying materials that are needed for expert review. And we have communicated verbally and in writing our concerns regarding these materials over the last several months. The delay here does not fall at our feet. Okay, we have no reason, we have no understanding as to why we were not given the autopsy report, the summary, until November, and then given the photos and the complete report package to be able to give it to somebody else until March. That makes no sense outside of a despicable strategy from the state here. And then it says where the evidence that has not yet been produced is both highly technical and scientific and is the basis for expert opinions that will be proffered only through reports deemed reliable. This is hearsay under Utah rule of evidence. You can't just give us summaries, and that's what they want. They want a show trial. And they are now asserting, in conclusion, that unless the materials that we are requesting have been produced to us by April 17th, 2026, and if that does happen, then we can set a hearing, 6 months out. Otherwise, we want a hearing date to be completely vacated. We don't want to even talk about a hearing date right now. It doesn't even make sense, okay? We've got 600,000 documents to go through. We have not received our discovery requests. We are basically, they're playing a PR game, and we deserve to have an opportunity to understand how they received these communications. How did you're saying these are his texts, okay? You don't just send me a PDF of text. When I saw the text, I was like,
what?
Are these dated? What time did they come in?
It's like Erica Kirk
What time did they come in?
screenshots.
How did they pull this off of the server? Did you contact T-Mobile? How did you get this information? You can't just send a PDF and then say we got them. You can't just have Kash Patel throwing up 33s
Or Andrew
and say that's
Kolvet's
enough.
itinerary
You can't just have Governor
photoshopped.
Cox up there with the Fed saying, "Oh, we got him." This is real. This is a court case. Tell us how you received these technological communications. Otherwise, this is just show, and they called them out on that. And so I have to say, this was an extraordinary filing, and extraordinary in that it only further, to me, undermines the state's case. You don't have to play these games. If it is on your side, if truth is on your side, you do not need to play these games. If truth is on your side, you immediately give them everything they need without delay. And you say, okay,
Boom, boom,
here you
boom,
go.
boom.
We should be able to make that deadline in May because we're giving you everything. Here's the autopsy. Here's this. Here's that. Here's the prints that we said that we found, because your interest should be finding Charlie's true killer, not trying to stick it onto a patsy, which is what Tyler Robinson is. In my opinion, having investigated this case, having had communication with Turning Point USA, with their former employees about the lies that they were told, with the way that they are behaving, with the way that they have edited their story, the panic because of the back footage, everything that they are doing is signaling to me that this is a Fed job from start to finish, just like JFK, just like with MLK. And I am entitled to that opinion unless they give us something concrete. And there is nothing, not a single shred of this case that they have delivered that has been concrete. They still have not demonstrated, even if the text messages are real to the defense. They can't even demonstrate that, or they have not demonstrated that yet. And I see no reason unless they aren't. We'll see. Anyway, I wanted to also tack on here that yesterday I had received an email that really touched me. It was the context of the email was there was a woman and she was responding to the APB that I put out yesterday regarding Erica's flight on July 14th. It's a crucial date to me on my timeline because of Tuckergate on July 13th. I feel very much that between June and July 13th is when they made a decision to kill Charlie on the basis of the Iran war, and further on the basis of what Tucker Carlson said on stage, questioning Bibi Netanyahu, his network of people, the Epstein files, where people's money was coming from. And that flight she took with Catherine Lowe Castro and Derek Neekirk and Jonathan Barcelo. And she wanted, the woman who's emailing me wanted to make me aware that a flight to Long Beach, I was wondering, what's this about? What's in Long Beach? And she made me aware that there's actually a joint Air Force base that's about 15 minutes from the airport. It was really the second part of the email that really touched me. She wrote this. She wrote, FYI, the Long Beach Airport is a quick 10 to 15 minute drive to a small military base in Los Alamitos. It is the Joint Forces Air Base. Oh, JTF, Fort Huachuca. It's not a very busy base, although it is secure. It also is not visible to heavy traffic, as the entrance to the base is located in a housing subdivision. It would be easy to move in and out of there without much notice from the public. The flight from Phoenix is just over an hour. She continued, it is common for U.S. government officials to fly in and out of that base when coming to Southern California and then driving to fundraising events, etc. The California National Guard also uses that base as well, as fighter jets fly in and out when doing the annual air shows. She continues, not sure if this helps with the big picture or pertains to what you find out about July 14th, but I wanted to pass that along in case it is another piece of the puzzle. She then writes, Candace, I pray that you eventually find peace. It has been heartbreaking to see glimpses of your stages of grief as you produce your show. My heart does ache with you in your pain. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. You have really met Jesus in his suffering since September 2025. As this is so painful, how much more was his pain to die on a cross for the sins of this world? May you never forget that Sunday came and he triumphed over evil. In this world, you will have many trials, but take heart that I have overcome the world. God makes us in his image, and one of his attributes is justice. Some of us bear that image more than others. It is both a blessing and a burden. You mirror the image of his justice, but may you rest in knowing that God is in charge of ultimate justice. I was very touched by that, and I wanted to share that because I felt like as we are ending at the end here of Lent, just being reminded of that. Like, no matter what you're going through, no matter what suffering you're going through, and it has been a lot of suffering, and it has been a lot of hurt to go through. And it hurts every day to see the people that Charlie catapulted into the positions that they have today turn on him for money. Because that's what we're seeing. We know that's it. They turned on Charlie for money. And some days it felt really lonely. But then I realized that the whole world is actually rooting me on. They're rooting the truth on. They're rooting Tucker Carlson on and Megyn Kelly on when they told the truth about the Israel thing. They're seeing what they have gone through for simply telling the truth about how much Charlie was going through in the end. And but I think we all need to be reminded of that whatever you're going through, like his burden was greater, you know, not Charlie's obviously, but Jesus Christ, his burden was greater. And there is something beautiful about that, to think that we are enjoined in suffering with him, that we are made in God's image. And part of that, of course, is suffering. And she is correct that justice, like vengeance, belongs to the Lord. But you know, truth, it belongs to all of us. And I just cannot overstate to you guys that the second that Charlie was killed, I knew that he was betrayed, and it could very well be that deep sense of knowing came from the fact that he had so carefully explained to me that he was going to die. But it also woke something up in me that had been dormant. And it's like, it's just a God mission. It's bigger than me. I can't let it go. I won't let it go. I don't care if people call me obsessed. I appreciate that they had a real hope that the world would turn the chapter on this, and I will not let it happen because none of us are safe. If a person like Charlie Kirk, who lived his life very admirably, who worked hard, and who helped put the people who have betrayed him into positions of power, if he can be betrayed, assassinated in front of the world, and people can collude to lie about everything that he represented and what he was going through, then I feel like none of us are safe, right? And I like to believe that he was correct in his assessment that his death was going to contribute to something greater. In many ways, it already has. I think it already has. We are understanding real evil in a way that we needed to remember, to see, I guess, what the world of politics is capable of. I'm trying to find comfort in that, I think. So I just wanted to share that because it made me feel happy and at peace in a way, like just being reminded of Christ's suffering. And yeah, anyways, beyond that, gosh, we are already at the hour mark. I don't know where the time goes. I do have an update for you guys on the Timpanogos staff at the hospital. And I saw Elizabeth Lane saying that talking about the other hospital and the strange lockdown. And I have maintained from the beginning that there was more evidence that Charlie was at Utah Valley initially, and then at some point got transported to Timpanogos. But we will have to wait until tomorrow because we are already up for an hour and I haven't even done comments. So we will take another quick break and I'll get to some of your comments. We'll be right back. All right, you guys, have you heard?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a sweet message. Let me see. What do I like better? This one? This one? I better get out of the way. Yeah, that was a sweet message. Cisco, we weren't put on earth to have a wonderful life. We were put here to struggle to make life wonderful. I've heard that said. I've heard different pastors say that we weren't, put here to like our enjoyment. What was it there? Like our joy or our enjoyment of life isn't God's goal. It's holiness. I think God gave us beauty and he gave all those things to us to enjoy, and that it's our business to struggle with grace and with faith. And I think that's the balance, right? To serve, to give, and not to, and to think about what we have to offer and what we have to give and not what we can get. If you think of nature, God put nature here for us to enjoy, and nature doesn't, it takes what it needs to survive, like trees, like plants. It takes what it needs from the soil, but it gives back. It gives back life, and it only takes what it needs. And in fact, trees, they've been shown to, like droves of trees, when another tree is struggling, the tree will bend toward the struggling tree to help bring it life. And I think that's what we're put here for, is to serve. And in that, we find our joy and our peace.
Not even on the D list. Kim Haven wrote, as a nurse, I can absolutely say that doctors do not come out and announce, he's dead, he's dead. They pulled the next of kin in a separate room and talked to them privately. Frank Turek is absolutely a liar, she asserts. Now, another thing that my producer Ashley broke up was she was like, and then the next sentence he says is, he's dead. I need to talk to Erica. And Ashley sort of asked the question. This happened like 30 minutes after, like Charlie's being rushed to the hospital. Within 30 minutes, they tell us that he's declared dead. How did you know Erica was his wife's name? Like, there are so many questions that we have there. Like, I need to talk to Erica like they're on like a first name basis. Charlie is not from Utah. He does not know this man. Yes, it was a very, obviously a very big deal, but the surgeon was pretty busy, right? Because he's dealing actually with the body. So it is, sounds like he's kind of writing a Western, which is kind of what it feels like. It feels like somebody is writing a script and they keep editing details and trying to fit things in. And now we've got, he's dead. He's dead. He's gone. I need to speak to Erica. You're right. It did not feel true. Did not ring true. Chewing the Void writes, what kind of widow is afraid of a thorough investigation? I will leave that as a rhetorical question. I will leave that as a rhetorical question because I believe that we will inevitably receive a final answer on that. Comments from today's episode. Seven Sheets writes, Charlie calling you his David still gets me emotional, yet the ones around him are not interested in delving into these things. You speak for millions, and we all hope we have a David like you. Go Maxer in faith and prayer. Yes, I have started a novena, and it helps. Praying helps. Setting your intentions really does help. And I feel like, goodness is always on our side, but it just feels that they are just getting caught every single second of every day, and they can't get ahead, and it is a we.
The entire administration
it has been a group project, and couldn't have done it without everybody, all of the YouTubers, the smaller YouTubers from Nisi, Baron, Coleman, everybody just gave something, you know what I mean? And it's been really amazing and deeply appreciated. It's so many people that I could name, obviously. Natty Nicole writes, the defense needs to utilize Ian Carroll's AP web. Yes, it will organize the discovery files and analyze them in no time. Yes, Ian Carroll, who has been so good and meticulous about organizing everything. It just, everybody's playing a different role. It's been like an orchestra. It feels like we're out the gates, like I keep saying. And you can sense that in their panic and their misdirection and the sloppiness of their attacks and trying to distract us with crazy attacks, but we remain focused. Kevin Hunt writes, I threw up from goy slop. Never again. Seriously, I do not recommend goy slop. Fed slop, actually worse, I would say, and it's all over this case. Han Solo writes, I'm so curious how this investigation will end. Will anyone break at some point? How exactly do the turning point heads benefit? Will Andrew get fed up with Erica, making him out to be a liar? Where does this all come to a close? No, because I think he has been willing to play that person. Like if what we sense is correct, and this is a massive cover-up, and Turning Point is complicit in that cover-up for various reasons, then they're all tied to each other, right? Yeah. Baron Coleman does a very good job of explaining that. There's like a line you can't cross, and you all have to collude together, and whoever's got to be the bad guy that day, it is whatever. You just got to say, okay, I'll catch the strays today because you go down, I go down. We're tied to each other. Right? It's like we're all handcuffed together here. So it doesn't benefit one of them more than the other. Make him Andrew the dunce and say, oh, he doesn't know what he was doing. I'm interested in why Lee Trotter, like I said, he could have probably had a good defamation case, saying something that's stupid, saying you violated HIPAA. I guess they didn't technically tweet that. She told me that. But that she had no part in it, and so that probably would have been
maybe the sheriff will be the fall guy.
Writes, my sister in Christ, Samia Zoom Out, for being such a great soul. She gifted me one of your I told my priest I would chill gear. I love it, and I love you, Candace. You are such a gifted soul. Blessings for eternity. I do love the told my priest I would chill. Great time to tell you guys about the updated merch is on our website. It is the easiest way to support us. Go to CandaceOwens.com. Buy some merch, buy some Shabbat Shalom merch, buy yourself a hat. Oh, I forgot to ask George about the restock. I forgot. I got you tomorrow. I won't forget about the CIA restock of the Standis cups. I got to get that coming for you. Otherwise, yeah, there's tons of stuff. You can also join the book club where we're getting a lot deeper on this Freemasonry stuff right now as we are reading The Secret Founding of America by Nicholas Hager. And it's been illuminating for me. Like I said, I didn't know that Freemasonry began in France. So that has been very interesting. Other than that, I hope you appreciated this breakdown. Now you can go online and appreciate all of the people who are just shameless shills and lying to you about the filing and pretending that it's nothing. And actually it reveals to you the strategy of the state. So they're not going to get away with it. I keep telling you guys that. I have a deep sense of knowing they've made mistake after mistake after mistake. And if nothing else, every room that they walk into, they're going to feel suffocated because everyone will know. Everybody knows what they are and who they are. And that's almost a worse sentencing if you think about it. Anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, Candace. I'm sticking with Candace. Candace is consistently Candace. I wanted to, good night, Jamie. But since you're here, letters, and we talked about this and we went a little bit deeper about joy and life and what it's all about here, I think about you a lot, letters. And I have to tell you, I wasn't planning on this, but I have to tell you something because I went through a period in my life, letters, where you guys know I've shared with you a bit of how I grew up, like more top level, through a lot of trauma and stuff. And I went through a period in my life where I was couch surfing. I didn't have my own place. I was lost. And I did meth, letters. So the other week when you said that you had been up for days and that it was meth, it really touched my heart. And I have to tell you, there was a time in my life where I believed kind of like you, and I was just in survival mode. I just was surviving. That's what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do to survive. And emotionally, mentally, that was how I could survive. That's how I could live my life. Click out of the ad. Sorry, because I accidentally didn't deselect that. But I have to tell you, letters, it is a miracle that I came out of it, because there was a lot of months that I was in that. And I don't know what happened, but one day, one morning I woke up after having been on a bender, and I just sat there and I said, God, I want my mind back. I want my mind back, and I want you to take this from me. I was in a pretty bad way. And I said, I need you to take this from me, and I need you to make me never look back. And I need you to make it so that I can't even be around people who are in that life, that it would make me physically ill, like that I just couldn't. There was a good 9 months. It was a good long time that it was rough, and I was really in deep with that. And from that day forward, it was gone. It just was lifted. It was lifted from, I had no withdrawals. I had no cravings. I had no desire. I had no desire to do it ever again, to ever think about it, or to ever be around people. And even if I didn't know people personally, if I was just around that, I could have this inner feeling and an inner knowing that they were in that life or struggled with that. And it did. It gave me a physical heaviness, a darkness, a sickness in my stomach feeling. And it never to return. And so I know, we all have that, we all have those struggles and those times where it hurts to think, and it hurts to feel, and it hurts to deal with the reality of whatever's going on, or whatever the past was, or whatever our future looks like or doesn't look like, that living up to our hopes and dreams for ourselves. But there is a difference, and it is very real. That life and that connection is a very real one. And for a long time, I didn't have it because I was angry. I was angry at God. I was angry that people had done the things that they had done, that people didn't help to come in and rescue me, that people didn't see what I was going through, and they couldn't, that they just didn't have the capacity for whatever reason. And so I rejected it for a good long time. But I'll tell you, my life changed. My life changed with connection. My life changed with being connected, and it changes every day. Not that life is better, but that I am. But whenever I am feeling when the fruits that when I said we will know them by their fruits, when I'm not seeing the fruit, the good, like the peace, the joy, when I'm seeing strife, like I can go, God, change my mind, change my heart, and give me yours, because I know you want the best for me. I know you love me. And even though I'm stuck and I want to hold on to the way I think, I want to hold on to my point of view, I want to hold on to whatever it is I'm holding on to, but I know your way is better. And every time I have prayed for that, God has come in with a changing, a miracle in my mind and in my heart that can change me. Don't get me wrong. There are times where I'm like desperately, like I want to be mad. I'm mad. Like this isn't right. And I'll have to, I just went through it like Sunday, I went through a little tiff with my daughter, and I wanted, like, I'm seeing it my way, but that doesn't help bring peace or connection or bring us back into relationship. So what helps is to have God's heart and his mind toward it, because he only wants the best for every single one of us. And it's true. And I think about you letters and I care. And, whatever path we have to go on to find our way, that's what we have to do. And so, and I want all of us to do that. I just want the best for all of us too. Fearless. Let's see. It's the grieving that what we believed, what we imagined, be it good or bad, we do grieve. True. Even the greatest joy of joys and changes they bring, we grieve changes. Yeah. We have to break up with some of our strong thoughts that aren't the healthiest. I never regret anything, because I know in my heart of hearts that the love and joy that I have, even if the smallest of things, they mean too much, that to change what was, I wouldn't have what I have. True. Yes. Honestly, the biggest thing I've tried to teach my daughter is the movie Coraline, because it demonstrates the miscommunication and misunderstanding. She wasn't unloved. Parents were doing what they could. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, and I know that we are also put here to have that joy and to help one another and to be a light for one another. Had to do in order to provide. Yeah, the parents had to do in order to provide. Hard but misunderstandings bring the greatest hardships. And learning and growth. Yeah, it's an important part. The struggle is that tension. The tension is an important growth aspect. We need the tension. So hopefully letters, you said an ad came up at just the right time. So anyways, you can hear it. Hopefully you'll listen, do what you are. You don't have to do anything with it, but just hear it. We all hear and see in our own timing. But you're such a light to the world. God bless you for all that you bring to this world. Thank you. So are you. So are you. And we all are that for one another. Anyways, I hadn't intended on sharing that. I dish things out sparingly, because there's a lot. But anyways, as it comes up, I think that's an important. I want to make a joke or something, but my mind's gone blank after what you said. I've tried connecting to society, but it didn't work. So I do what I do. No judgment. I know society sucks. People can suck. People are hard. Yeah, it's difficult. I get it. I just want you to know I think about you, and I care. And but that's all we can do for each other. So hardship can be an opportunity for growth, but still hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. Like I said, we went through a little tiff this weekend. It was difficult between my daughter and I. It was like tense, and I was praying, God, help me, change my mind and have better thinking. But I'm just so mad, and I just want to be, I want to hold on to like I'm right. But there was somebody who said something, and I play that back often. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? So I like that. It's raw, authentic you that makes you uniquely you and beautifully real. Thank you for being you and bringing your authenticity always. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you being here. It is such a joy, and it is such growth experience for me. And I appreciate you being here to share in it. And I appreciate what you bring as well. So on that note, I'm a blubbering mess. We're going to continue with Candace. We're going to stick with Candace. We're going to stick with truth, and we're going to keep on digging and keep on fighting. So thank you all for being here. I'll see you soon. I'll see you next time. It probably won't be tomorrow. Jeff's foot surgery is tomorrow. We'll see how big of a baby he is. He's so tough, but we'll see, once he has this surgery, how he is. I don't think in our whole, he had a surgery on like a thyroid thing several years ago. So he was pretty good, actually. He is tough, but we'll see. Anyways, I get to laugh at him because he has a scooter to put his leg up onto, because he'll be in a boot and all that, like Candace was the other week. But trust Jesus. Truth, yes. Blessing and prayers. God bless you all. I'll see you soon. I'll see you Thursday for sure, because Brandy's going to be on the show. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is a better life. From scars to stars, from pain to bulletproof, to reach a better life. A better life with you. Talking news, pop culture life, love and scandal, heart to heart. Teresa, better life. Real is where the reset starts. No playing small. We rise, we fall. We laugh, we do it all. A better life is one brave call. Teresa, better life. Let's build a better life. Let's build a better life. A better life. Teresa, better life.